नमः। श्री गोवर्धननाथ पादयुगलं हैयंगवीनप्रियं नित्यं श्रीमथुरादिपं सुखकरं श्रीविठ्ठलेशं मुदा श्रीमद्वारवतिश्च गोकुलपति श्रीगोकुलेन्दुं विभुं श्रीमन्मन्मथमोहनं नटवरं श्रीबालकृष्णं भजे। श्रीमद्वल्लभविठ्ठलौ गिरिधरं गोविन्दरायाभिधं श्रीमद्बालककृष्णगोकुलपति नाथं रघूणांस्तथा एवं श्री अधुनायकं किल घनश्यामं च तद्वंशजान् कालिन्दीं स्वगुरुं गिरिं गुरुविभुं स्वीयप्रभुंश्च स्मरेत्। बर्हापीडं नटवरवपुः कर्णयोः बिभ्रदवासः कनककपिशं वैजयन्तीं च मालां रन्ध्रान् वेणोरधरसुधया पूरयन् गोपवृन्दैः वृन्दारण्यं स्वपदरमणं प्राविशद्गीतकीर्तिः सौन्दर्यं निजरुद्गतं प्रकटितं श्रीगूढभावात्मकं पुंरूपं च पुनस्तदन्तर्गतं प्राविशत्स्वप्रिये संश्लेष्टा उभयोर्बभौ रसमयः कृष्णो हि यत्साक्षिकं रूपं तत्त्रितयात्मकं परमभिर्ध्येयं सदा वल्लभम्। श्रीवल्लभप्रतिनिधिं तेजोराशिं दयार्णवं गुणातीतं गुणनिधिं श्रीगोपीनाथमाश्रये। सायं कुञ्जालयस्थासनमुपविलसत् स्वर्णपात्रं सुधौतं राजद्यज्ञोपवीतं परितनुवसनं गौरवम्भोजवक्त्रं प्राणानायम्यनासाकुटनिहितकरं कर्णराजद्विमुक्तं वन्देर्दोन्मीलिताक्षं मृगमदतिलकं विठ्ठलेशं सुकेशं। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेष्वभिघ्नस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदायादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा नाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। यस्वानुभावमखिलश्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपमतितितिर्शतान्तमोऽन्धं संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुमुपयानि पुरुं मुनीनाम्। श्री गोवर्धननाथ की जय, श्री गिरिराज धरण की जय, श्याम सुंदर श्री अमने महारानी जी की जय, श्री वल्लभाधीश की जय, श्री गोसाई जी परम दयाल की जय। When you go on a trip, the first 10 minutes are to adjust yourself to the roads, to the environment. There's a practice in a lot of Vaishnava families when they start their day or when they start their trip. they at least say Giriraj Dharan Ki Jai and they start their trip. Similarly, any auspicious or even any worldly activity is going to happen from our side. It might be right from waking up in the morning to actually having a wedding in the house. Any of these acts or any of these initiatives are always started by reciting a Mangalacharan. The third last verse that I recited was something like this. Now, even before you can read the text in Sanskrit, let me tell you one thing. Any form of scripture will have a correlation and a context with some other scriptures. Reason being, it becomes easy for referencing. For example, in a conversation, when two people know something, they need not elaborate on it. A small reference of the incident can ensure that the entire picture is right in front of your eyes. In Shastras, elaboration on every topic may not be essential. Because back in the days, people were very open and understanding. You said one small statement and they could understand the meaning of it. In order to define a principle right now, a thesis has to be prescribed, and only then people with their logical mind will try to accept what is being propounded by the scriptures. Understand one thing, when the scriptures were written down, they were written by rishis, munis, tattvachintaks, philosophers who had a brain capacity of more than ours. What's our capacity of brain? 1%? Einstein, what I heard, was between 3 and 4%. But if a person like Einstein, who has 3 to 4% of brain power, also made an error, once I was interacting with Shastriji, and he told me this once very sweet story. The sweet story is about a cat living in Einstein's house. Now Einstein thought, let's do something nice for this cat, let's create a door for the cat. And while the carpenter was trying to make a door, the cat also started having a baby cat. So now there's a kitten and there's a cat. And now Einstein is ordering the carpenter to make another door for the kitten. And the carpenter is staring at Einstein and wondering, is he really Einstein? If I've already made one big door, what is the need of creating another small door? And the logic was that the bigger door will be utilized by the bigger cat, the smaller door will be utilized by the smaller cat. Carpenter was like, are you really Einstein? Can't the smaller cat go from the bigger door? This is what happens when our 1% brain tries to accept things which is beyond our imagination. It just goes bouncer to us. We just don't land up accepting things. Why? Because somewhere we are also like Einstein. So I want to tell you one thing very frankly. Anything that's written in the Shastras has zero benefit to them. Now imagine a rishi who might have written some scriptures some lakhs of years ago. What is the motivation for him? At least now, if you're a scientist or a someone who is engaged into research, your biggest motivation is that you can get a Nobel Prize for your research. And then you get a lot of grants, and then government subsidies come to your place, and your lifestyle becomes a little easier. And then your job is to go to various places and give lectures and, propound people with your own philosophy and things like that. Tell me a motivation behind a rishi to actually write a scripture. Share his knowledge. Is he getting anything in return? They never even thought of creating that. They just did what they had to. That this is for the humankind, this is for the mankind, let's just make it. I don't want anything in return. And if we think selfless people don't exist, this is the city of Bombay, just lose a road, someone will still guide you without having an expectation in return. This is the same city wherein if you lose a wallet, there are enough honest people who can give you that wallet back without accepting a single penny in return. These are the modern day monks. You don't need a Bhagwa Rang to have a monk. You need a mindset to be a monk. Now you might see over here, you can see a Gayatri Mantra written over here. My question to the audience is, should you recite it or no? Should you recite this Gayatri Mantra which is written over here? If I look at this side of the audience, they'll say no. Can you handle nuclear weapons without having the eligibility to handle it? Can you handle any form of energy without having the power to handle it? Now I'll tell you what can Gayatri do to you. A Gayatri Mantra has an eligibility criteria. It's not publicly accessible to everyone just because it has been sung on YouTube by multiple singers. Any mantra in this world is an energy. Let me tell you the story behind the Gayatri Mantra. This mantra was somewhere in the universe. There's a sage, there's a rishi who was meditating. During meditation, this sage or this rishi comes across this mantra. Realizes that there are 3 elements to every mantra. The first element is the god or the goddess behind this mantra. The second, what is the composition of this mantra? Are there any letters or is there a prescribed format of reciting this mantra? Like you heard Swastina Indro Vriddha Shravaha right now. There are certain annotations wherein the sound is going high. Then there are certain annotations where the sound is coming low. And if prescribed, if they'll get time, they'll also show you the hand movements and the hand gestures they do while reciting the mantras, which actually helps in their annotation of sound. So any mantra in this world has a science behind it, has a logic behind it, has a way of reciting, has a way of recitation, has a way of pronunciation of that mantra. And last but not the least, it has been embarked, it has been indexed against a rishi at the end of the day. So when we Brahmins or anyone who has a thread sits in the morning to do Sandhya, the homage to the sun god at that given point of time, we are supposed to recite this Gayatri Mantra. Reason being, Gayatri Mantra, for us, at least for all those people who believe in Krushna, see on one side, people feel that this Gayatri Mantra is in context with Gayatri Devi. And on the other side, there's all those believers who believe in Vishnu, all the believers who believe in Krushna, they believe that the Gayatri Mantra is in context with Krushna. 2 separate ideologies, 2 separate belief systems, still has one eligibility criteria. Anyone who has a janoi, has a thread, can recite this Gayatri Mantra. Now the biggest question mark comes in, why is this society or why are the scriptures so male-centric and so male-dominated that ladies don't get the rights to do Gayatri Mantra? Well, apparently, the Puran, just like Bhagwat Puran, there are other Purans that have also prescribed a Gayatri Mantra for others. What happens when you mess around a mantra? Imagine if I'm launching a rocket and I map wrong locations, what will happen? It goes at a wrong place, it destroys the locality altogether, and it creates destruction. Now let me help you understand why Sanskrit is so precise in context with its own pronunciation. A letter here and there can change the meaning from deer to dog. This person is dear to me. This person is a dog to me. You change a letter and the word changes. The meaning of the word changes. The context altogether changes. Swasar and Shwasar. Now imagine if you have a wrong pronunciation. You are doing something with a clean intent, but your action is wrong. Do you think it's going to give you results? You're doing a wrong action again and again and again and again and again and again. And do you think it's going to yield you any form of results? Do it once, you are forgiven. Do it twice, you will still be forgiven. Do it thrice, you will be warned. Do it for the fourth time, it's considered to be a pattern. I think that's what psychology talks. You do something wrong once, fine. Acknowledged, you let go. Second time, still, you human can make mistakes. Third time, you'll be warned, okay, fine, you don't need to do this. I think that's the same rule for driving in United States as well. You get 3 marks and then you're out. Your license is confiscated. I think that's the same thing in UAE, if I'm not wrong. You make 3 mistakes and the red flags are done and then you're out of the system. Same thing goes with the mantra as well. We feel mantra might be, a jovial activity which gives you peace. But boss, let me tell you one thing. You're dealing with one mantra which is as strong as a nuclear energy. The only difference is, since it is being misutilized in the wrong formats, you can listen to Shankaracharya of Govardhan. Shankaracharya of Govardhan has a very good thought process behind this mantra. He's a learned scholar in mathematics. Till that extent that when Chandrayaan was being launched, the launch was delayed by a day or so, and Shankaracharya was being consulted for the same because he was great in Indian Vedic mathematics. He knew that Chandrayaan was going to fail because of the research that these guys had done. He was consulted, and because of that, it went to a little, a farther more distance than in comparison to what it was supposed to. The same thing was done for the Mars one as well. Though Chandrayaan did land over there, but the Mars one didn't. Mars one got, it falls short of the distance altogether. So Vedic mathematics was being considered, the Vedic mantras were considered for a launch of a rocket. Now this might be beyond our imagination, but there is enough research paper, there's enough research material by foreign universities and inclusive of, there's a Ferguson College in Pune. It has done research on all these mantras. If you mishandle a mantra, it can backfire to you. So what do? You're not supposed to do Gayatri. No one is stopping you. But every mantra has an alternative. For example, if you realize the puja that you guys are doing, the puja is being done through Puranic shlokas. But when certain segment of people start doing puja, mantras are being utilized at the same time. It depends on our access towards a certain strata of the society. It also matters the eligibility criteria to have a certain segment of access altogether. Like for example, if I want to study Vedas, I cannot study the way I want to or on the day I want to. If I'll consult to Ashok Bhai over here, he'll tell me, you cannot come to me on a Sunday and study Vedas that day. Now you might be thinking, why he'll not come on a Sunday? Sunday is considered to be the day of sun. It itself is an energetic day. Since it's an energetic day, Veda studies are not done on Sundays. Because while studying Vedas itself, there is a transmission of energy. And how are these Vedas studied? The teacher sits in the northern direction facing north. The student sits in facing east. The teacher is reciting something and the student is listening to the right ears. That's how mantras are getting registered in the ears and the mind and the body eventually. You go to any Vedic Pachala, or you go to any Pachala, you go to Sandipani, you go to Sola Bhagavad Vidyapith, you go to Kashi, you go to South, Trichy, you go to Kaladi, you go to any of these Vedic epicenters where Vedas are being taught or Shastras are being taught, this common practice is always going to remain the same. Now you might be wondering what happens when these guys do Gayatri or when we do Gayatri. We gather a lot of amount of energy which is given to you in the form of an Ashirvad. Whenever you are seeking blessings from any Brahmin, you are technically taking their tap. So whatever recitation, whatever mantra jap or mala jap these guys do, when they give you the blessings, they are actually giving their form of energy to you. And even that Almighty is actually on the way to ensure that these blessings don't go in vain. But as mentioned earlier, our own acts cancel out these things. Even if the God is intending to give us more, He doesn't land up giving us more. So what do we do? Are we supposed to do Gayatri? Yes, there are multiple various other forms of Gayatri. You can take a prescription of this Gayatri from your Brahmin or from a Kul Purohit or your family-based Brahmin who keeps on doing various pujas at your house. They can guide you in this direction. Messing around mantras is messing around life. And there's a beautiful correlation. Shrimad Bhagwatam starts with the letter J. How does it matter for us whether it starts with a J or an A? If you see Ramayana, and if you see the every 1000th verse of Ramayana, it actually collates to the Gayatri Mantra. There are 24,000 verses in Valmiki Ramayana. There are 24 letters in Gayatri Mantra. So Shastra may not be symmetrical, but it has correlations every now and then. And this Gayatri Mantra's theme has been mentioned in this verse over here. I'm not going to give you the translation of this verse, but I'm going to give you the essence of what it really stands for. The last letters over here say Satyam Param Dhimai. Satya. Truth. Something that doesn't change in the past, something that doesn't change in the present, something that is not going to change in the future as well. It is going to stay the way it is. The only constant in the world is this truth. You might have your own variations around it, but the originality of this truth is not going to change. We all have our own perceptions. We have our own perception towards understanding this one element called truth. But for us, this truth is no one else but Bhagwan. And why is it that the Shastra is emphasizing us to meditate? Meditate. Dhimai refers to meditate. We're not remembering the truth, we are actually meditating upon the truth. Sometimes we as humans feel it's difficult to understand certain things. Fair and square, said and done, certain things are really difficult to understand. But that's where grace comes into the picture. That's exactly where grace comes into the picture. If we don't understand something with our own brains, the minute we confer this brain to the lotus feet of Lord, things start becoming simple. And that's why we say Buddhi Preraka Krushnasya. Buddhi refers to your intellect. Prerak means someone who's going to guide you. And who's going to do it? It's Bhagwan Shri Krishna. The first adhyay. Now let me help you understand the structure of Shrimad Bhagwatam. Sure?
You touched the subject and then you passed by. Was the ladies not getting the Janay?
Ladies not getting the Janay, okay. It has two things. One, primarily it's given to boys. Ladies, so Janoi technically is an eligibility of serving the Lord. That's the first thing. It has Devatva in it itself. So when we Brahmins, or any three Varna for a matter of fact, Brahmin, Kshatriya or Vaishya, all three of them, when they happen to adorn the Janoi or adorn the thread, they invoke 9 gods in it. They invoke 9 plus 3 gods in it. There are 12 gods that have been invoked in that Janoi. And that becomes our eligibility criteria of reciting this Gayatri mantra and any other Vedic mantras for a matter of fact. Now, comes the part wherein why are ladies not allowed to do this? Since Devatva is already there in this and menses can strike at any given second, it becomes a violation of this one. It becomes a violation of the thread ceremony. Hence only Gargi was one of the ladies who could actually wear a janoi because she had control of her own menses. Menses is considered to be a very important segment in a lady's lifestyle, and hence, so there's no violation of the janoi. That's one reason why janoi is not conferred to her. And second thing, whatever the better half does, she has equivalent part to take care in it. So let's just say if the male member of the family does any punya, the same goes to the lady at the same time. She need not take any additional efforts for the same. And any Vedic karya, if you see, yagna is incomplete without swaha. Tarpan or shraddha is incomplete without swadha. Any yagna done by a male member cannot be completed in case if he is married. If the wife is there, they both are sitting together to perform the yagna. So one of the major concerns was menses, because of which janoi is not conferred to the ladies. However, that doesn't mean that a Gayatri cannot be given to her. There's a different format of a Gayatri which is given to her. So Shastra is not biased that everything is only for men and nothing is for women. And that's why I love Mahaprabhuji Vallabhacharya's path of grace. The focus has been on women first and then on men. Back in 500 years ago, it was difficult for women to go to temples due to lack of safety. Mahaprabhuji ensured that there's a deity in your house. There's one Lord whom you're serving at your house. I think this was the religious revolution, and that's why a lot of times when people make derogatory statements like this is a male-dominated society and it's pragmatically only all the practices were male-dominated, then I would like to break this myth. There were gurukuls for women as well. The only difference is no one talks about it.
Maybe that's why it's made sacred. Indians don't want to share this.
I don't know.
They lose their power over everything.
Prakriti and Purush, at the end of the day, we'll be talking about it in the Tritiya Skand. Prakriti and Purush, how can you function without any of these? You take a Shivling as an example as well, even the Linga lies in a yoni. And for us to serve in Pushti, you have to be a gopi. How can you love Krishna without being a woman? For us being males as well, we have to learn how to love. And in order to learn how to love, we have to go to a woman. Sneni murti che stri. Sneni murti che. If I have to learn how to love, I have to go to a lady. So yes, Shastras are not biased. They have well thought of certain things. So yes, Gayatri can be accessed but in a different format. Gayatri can be accessed by others but in a different format. It is the responsibility of the Brahmins to guide you in the right direction, and it's the responsibility of the society to get guided in the right direction at the same time. Is there anything else I can? Can we please shut this AC? Please. This was the one that was causing me pain yesterday, so yeah. Just. Yeah, see, it has mood swings. Is there anything else I can touch upon in that topic?
I just felt that you just passed me.
Rita ji had the same observation that you skim through certain topics. You've been observing, you did that 7-8 times yesterday. So yeah, your observation has been duly noted. I won't play around and, walk away from the topics.
That is understandable because a lot of the chapters cannot be covered in this short period of time.
You have to give 4 minutes to one chapter, so. See, my job is to say the truth. Now I'll tell you something about truth as well, since we are already in context with truth. I have to say the truth. I also have to say nice things. But I cannot sugarcoat the truth and say, I cannot be saying lies to you. So as much as I want to sugarcoat things and say the things to you, I have to draw my boundaries by guiding them in the right direction and by also not sounding rude at the same time. Reason being, when Shastra propounds a principle, it has thought through something, and Shastra is for governing all of us at the end of the day. There's no motivation for Shastra by itself to be there where it is. And since there's no benefit or there's no outcome for the Shastra itself, it's our one step ahead responsibility wherein to get the right guidance, understand them in the right way, not misinterpret them as per our convenience. And remember one statement that Mahaprabhuji has given for us for life. It's Swadharma Charanam Shaktya. We need to perform our duties and responsibilities as per our capacity. Understanding one's capacity is on us. Understanding the Shastra again is on us. If we understand these two things, eventually things can fall in place. I had given a question yesterday to think upon. Did you guys get some time to think? Good question. Next question. My recommendation would be to keep your phone notes open so that, it can be on airplane mode and you can write running notes. I'm habituated to be a professor. Like how Dadiji has a Bhagwatam right now in her hand. You can have your running notes in hand. So I think Rita ji will help you. What was the question? Correct. So, till the time the katha proceeds further, the question is, should there be multiple gods in a house or should there be only one Lord in the house? Right? Think over it. We will eventually get there. Now, let me try and tell you a little bit about Shrimad Bhagwatam as a structure. How does Bhagwatam get made over the period of time? So, there's a humongous garden, and in that humongous garden, there's a seed that has been sowed, and that seed is called Gayatri. There's a tree that is coming out of that seed, and that is called Veda. And the fruit that is coming by, it's called Bhagwatam. So Gayatri is the seed, Veda is the tree, Bhagwatam is the fruit. Tell me one thing. What is the origin of Vedas? My behavior doesn't change in one day. My habit of asking questions is not going to go away. I think that is one thing that you guys have applauded me for, that you keep asking us questions, and that's why we are holding here in the Katha. So that is not going to change. It will never change. What is the root of Vedas? Or what are the root of Vedas? Grammatically, however you want to take it. I'll answer that by the end of the session. Mera promise hai. They came in an organic form, okay. Do you see this line called Eka Bijatvat? I hadn't planned, to be very honest, I hadn't planned this. I haven't translated this for you today. But I just felt like sharing this, that's why I'm sharing it with you. Do you see that Eka Bijatvat? It refers to that it has one root. It has one source. Apparently the source for Bhagwatam and Vedas is the same, and that's the Gayatri mantra. Wasn't that obvious? I just gave you that answer. I told you. The seed is Gayatri, the tree is Vedas, and the fruit is Bhagwatam. What do you eat? Do you eat the tree? Do you eat the fruit? Why? It's more tasty, more juicy, easy to gulp. Is it right? No. Or you guys have a habit of having trees altogether. Aja amma nu jad laine khai lidu. Not really, right? It's a fruit that everyone is looking out for. And since it's the fruit that everyone is looking out for, Bhagwatam is considered to be the ultimate fruit of life. It's considered to be nectar. In other words, elixir. In other words, Amrut. Not the Amrut Mahotsav that we are celebrating right now. So if the source of these two elements are the same, do they have any similarities between them? Yes, they do have similarities. Similarities in what context? Both the Vedas and Bhagwatam have a certain segment of stories. Both the Vedas and Bhagwatam have certain thought for the higher purpose. The only difference is Vedas come with eligibility, Bhagwatam comes with love. Now, how does Vedas come through eligibility? You get born in either of the families, you ensure you have a Janoi, then you study Vedas for 12 years, then you get one Veda in place, then you practice the knowledge behind it. That's how you sustain the Vedic culture aspect of it. But Bhagwatam, even if you're 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, 85, 95, doesn't really matter. The minute you have love for Lord, Bhagwatam appears. And that's what has happened in your family right now. There are a couple of people in your family who have immense amount of love for Bhagwatam, and that's why Bhagwatam is in your house right now. Now it's my job to make you fall in love with Bhagwatam. And it's your job as well to fall in love with Bhagwatam at the same time. So it's a two-way street. So the structure of Bhagwatam is, we all have seen Srinath Ji's darshan. We all go to Srinath Ji? Yeah? Yes? No? Did you have coffee today before coming? No tea, no coffee. I told you have caffeine and come. And today less people are there, so it will be more cold. Yeah? There'll be more vibrancy in terms of cold air coming to you. You'll feel, I want to sleep right now. It's so cold right now. So in case of such things don't happen, try to participate with me. Because we are in the prime slot of sleep, 3:30 to 6. 3:30 to 5:30, anyway, our mood is just like... And in that, someone has asked you to please come to Bhagwat Saptah, be discreet, be disciplined, listen to it. So I understand. Do we all know that Krishna is Srinath Ji and Srinath Ji is Krishna? Yes. Sure, or anyone has a doubt here? Yeah? We have established that fact that Krishna is Srinath Ji and Srinath Ji is Krishna. There's no difference. Fantastic. So, if you see on the right side, there's Mahaprabhu Ji. Now, Mahaprabhu Ji gives us a vision, gives us a visual, and gives us an understanding that Srinath Ji and Bhagwatam are one and the same. How? That's a question mark. How can a book and a form be the same? See, that's why you need acharyas like Vallabhacharya to help you understand this context. Now, Vedas have described that Lord has 12 limbs, 12 body parts. Dwadashango vai purushaha. Now, these 12 body parts are nothing but the 12 chapters or 12 canto of Shrimad Bhagwatam. The way you have Harry Potter divided in 8 parts, Bhagwatam is divided into 12 parts. That those 12 parts are called as canto. In our language, they are called skandha. And these skandha formulate the limbs of Thakurji. The two that you can't see are the Sri Charan. They are actually behind that Lalan. They become the first and the second canto. The chest becomes the 8th and the 9th. The heart becomes the 10th. The face becomes the 11th. The hand up becomes 12th. So what Mahaprabhuji has done, he has given us a perspective that depending on what kind of activity the Lord is doing, these chapters have been coordinated against Sri Thakurji's limbs. Now the second question that comes by, are there sub-chapters in Bhagwatam? Of course, if there are chapters, there are also sub-chapters in Bhagwatam which are called Adhyaya. There are 335 sub-chapters. Now I won't go into the nitty-gritties of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. એ આપણે સુબોધનીજી જ્યારે આગળ શીખવાની આવશે ત્યારે જોશું. હમણાં ભાગવતજીમાં એ લોકોનો પ્રવેશ થઈ જાય વધારે ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટનું છે. So there are 335 chapters, sub-chapters to be precise. It can go as high as 90 in one, that is the 10th canto. And it can go as low as 10 in the second canto. Now why are these divided as sub-chapters? Every chapter has a mood. Every chapter has a theme. Every chapter has a purpose. These purposes have been divided in sub-chapters to ensure that the conversation keeps on happening between two people. Most of the times when you have been in Katha, you might have realized that there's a speaker speaking and it goes on for 3 hours and in the middle there is some music that's happening and that's the end of it. Most of the people feel that the Katha this is how it is supposed to be. But if you actually open up the scripture, you'll realize that it's not a monologue at all. It's a dialogue between two people. Someone has questions and someone is answering those questions. You take Upanishad, same format. Shikshavallis, same format. There's a student who has a question and the teacher is answering those questions. You take Bhagwatam, same format. The first sub-chapter of the chapter itself, the opening chapter of the entire Grantha is considered to be the question-based chapter. It contains 6 questions through which all 334 chapters are considered to be as answers. So kathas were never one-way traffic. And that's one initiative that me and my family have taken very seriously in the last 6 years, since the advent of the PowerPoint presentation that has happened. 7 years actually. 2016 was when we utilized a PowerPoint presentation first at Lalit Karani's house. A similar Bhatia family like yours. A very open-minded person who decided, you know what, this time let's do it. Let's have a Bhagavad Katha with a PowerPoint presentation. We started with 335 slides. 361 maybe, not more than that. Now we have more than compilation of 10,000 slides. Now we are fighting what to show you. It's the hard work of 7 years which has led us over here, wherein we believe in involvement of yours is more essential than our communication to you. Because it was any speaker's responsibility to ensure that the opposite person is understanding that. Now we take Sut Maharshi or Shaunak Rishi, who are the first 2 characters that will come by. Sut Maharshi is the narrator. Shaunak Rishi is someone who's a learned scholar who has some 88,000 students under him. Imagine a chancellor of a university sitting for a refresher's course. That's the status of the communication between 2 people. The second conversation is happening between Ved Vyas and Naradji. We'll talk about it in like half an hour from now. So there's someone who's asking questions and someone is answering those questions. It has always been a dialogue. Now you might feel I'm troubling you and poking you with questions again and again. Not to see that you've fallen asleep. It's just to see whether are you in context with what I'm trying to talk or not. See, I don't expect you to understand everything in verse go. You're far more intellectual people than me, but this topic is so vibrant and diverse that you might not understand it in the first go. And that's why we say, भागवत जी में से अगर एक शब्द भी ले लिया, एक अक्षर भी ले लिया, तो तुम्हारा जीवन का बेड़ा पार हो जाएगा. if you take one statement, one letter as well, that can change your life altogether. So my request to you would be, for the next 6 days, try to find that letter of yours, or try to find that statement of yours. That one statement that can be a game changer for you. So, remembering Sri Mahaprabhuji, because of whom we can interpret this Bhagwatam in 7 different formats. Yeah, at the chapter level, sub-chapter level, context level, shlok level, part of the shlok level, and even the letters. Letters have been explained by Sri Mahaprabhuji. And this entire, your translation is here, by the way. That's why I don't add translations. Just look at the size of the translation that is there. How is the Lord? The Lord is omniscient. That means He's present everywhere. Apart from that, He is self-enlightened. And someone who is self-enlightened is generally represented with a very light color. There's aura, there's energy, there's brightness. And that brightness itself refers to Swarat. Let me tell you one thing, no one in the world has become a Pandit just by reading translations. You have to find a mentor. Provided you wish to know such things, that's a different ballpark altogether. And at the end of the day, whom are we meditating upon? We are meditating upon the ultimate truth, Satyam. And Satyam is not just any Satyam, it's Param. It's the ultimate. Now, how can we understand about this? And that's why all the religious activities that you're performing, if you're going to be materially motivated in it, it's not going to lead you anywhere. It's going to let you be over here itself. Materialistic life was made in order to make your life easy, not to make your life complicated. See, there are two segments of people. On one side, there's that intellectual segment of people who don't decide what to wear every day and have a common segment of clothes for every day. You take Steve Jobs or Zuckerberg, for a matter of fact. Same clothing every day. They don't have to sit and decide, hey, you know what, today I want to wear chundari, or I want to wear bandhani, or I want to wear ghagra, or I want to wear choli. They don't want to sit and decide all of those things. And on the other side of the world, there are certain segment of people who want to decide in what context, what clothing I want to wear on which particular occasion and function. Now, both of these people are living a certain segment of life. One has affluence, the other one also has affluence. One is not involved in enjoyment of life, but is involved in creating some other things. The other person is involved in enjoying his or her life in a certain segment. But what if you have both of these lifestyle and your materialism starts restricting you? Isn't that a common strata which has been mentioned in the English literature? There's enough for the man's need but not enough for the man's greed. But the question is, when does our greed line come? Where's that boundary of that greed coming is the biggest question mark that we all have. Tell me your biggest motivation of coming over here, apart from maintaining relations with the family. Yeah, I'll be very frank. I'll be very frank. Apart from maintaining relations with the family, what is your other motivation to come over here? To learn, to listen to me. Thank you. That's very sweet of you. Self-awareness, fair. Fantastic, good. Fresh perspective every time you listen to someone, fair. When do you think you will get this result? You came here, you should get something, right, in return, apart from acknowledgement from the family that, hey, thank you so much for coming. How nice, how sweet. You pick up that one statement or one sentence, that's nice. See, you go anywhere in the world, you won't try to invest your time without getting something in return. For a matter of fact, in the initial stages of love as well, you want some validation in return. You don't pedify your boyfriend or girlfriend if they're not paying heed or attention to you. As simple as that, let's be very honest and frank. Yeah? You're trying to attempt to make love in order to get love in return. After a stage, you understand, you know what, this is how the world is going to be. I still want to express my love because that's my side of the story. Let me express my segment of love. Fair and square, done. You don't know when are you going to get the results. But Bhagavad on the other side says the minute you are here, the result that you're going to get is not bound by time. Your investments are not subject to market risk. You don't have to read any documents carefully. The last line over there, it says Tat Kshanat. Tat Kshanat. That means from the right moment. From this moment itself, the fruit has been delivered to you. Or the delivery process has already started. Now you might be wondering, what is the fruit? The fruit lies in that one statement that you're looking for. The more your senses are revolving around the world, it's gone to Chopati just for a walk, or possibly at the Marine Drive just to have just to glare a look of how the sunset is going to be, or possibly you're at the Malabar Hill wondering how Raj Bhavan is beautiful, or possibly you are in some different country altogether thinking that how beautiful this place is going to be. By sitting over here, you're not going to get that result. It's only when the three things that I mentioned earlier in the previous session, it's your mind, it's your body, and it's your action. One psychological expert of mine gave a very good advice. How much luggage you want to carry on your body? You already have physical luggage. How much mental luggage you want to carry with your own self? So what's the process of getting this fruit? The process of getting this fruit is leaving your emotional baggage over here itself. Now you might be wondering, how come this young guy in his 20s is trying to talk about emotional baggage, and who is he to come and give us such advices? Won't he have breakdowns in his life, or won't he have happy moments in his life? To tell you one thing, I just cleared one of my KTs right now before coming to this katha. You think I had an emotional baggage about it? No. My best friend was going through a breakup. Did I have an emotional baggage about it? No. Why? Because the bigger focus over here is this Bhagwat Saptah more than anyone else. More than my best friend or my sales management paper which got cleared, by the way. The paper which was pending got cleared. It doesn't really matter. If I can do this, you are much elder to me. You can definitely do this. And all it requires is practice. That's it. When will the fruit start coming? Tat Kshanat. I am not saying it. Bhagavad is saying it. I have zero authority, but Bhagavad has authority. Now I compared Bhagavatam as a fruit. I want to tell you a little more about it. Do you want to hear a story? How nice. I only have 2 people saying yes in the entire crowd. Okay, I'll tell you a story. Do you see this parrot? Do you see the fruit? Okay, so this story is about the parrot and the fruit. So one fine day in Kailash, Shivji and Parvati ji are having a conversation. Shivji is trying to narrate certain things. Parvati ji is listening to those things. While she is listening to these things, she fell asleep. While listening to Shivji, Parvati ji actually fell asleep. Nearby was a parrot, and now parrot started responding to Mahadev ji in Parvati ji's voice. So generally when people like certain things in the Kathana, they acknowledge it. How do they acknowledge it? They say Jai Ho, they say Namo Namaha. That's how they acknowledge things. Back in the days, people used to use Shankh and all of those things as well. So now my sense of acknowledgement is this. And that too in Indian nod sometimes. हाँ बोल रहे हो ना बोल रहे हो मेरे तो समझ के बाहर जा रहा है. So now the parrot was like, oh, if I don't respond, Shivji will not say anything. And then the entire Katha Prasang will go away. And I want to get all of these knowledge. So continued. And then all of a sudden, Parvati opens eyes and now the parrot is like, oh, I'm gone. I'm done. Because if Shivji gets to know that I was the one responding, Shivji will open the third eye and then I'm done and dusted. So at the very second when Parvati ji wakes up, the parrot flies away. Happens so that Vyas Maharshi, now Vyas Maharshi is the author of Mahabharata. Okay? Vyas Maharshi's wife apparently had an open mouth at that given second. Now for your amusement, the parrot actually went inside the wife. That parrot transformed as a baby and stayed for 16 years in the womb of the mother. And after the birth, after a lot of conversation between Vyas Maharshi and the kid, finally the baby is born, and that baby is known as Shukadeva. Moral of the story, the parrot is Shukdev, the fruit is Bhagwatam. Because it is Shukdev ji who is actually narrating the entire Bhagwatam, which we'll learn about in like 15 to 20 minutes from now. Why so much importance to this Bhagwatam as a fruit altogether? For all those people who might have been to Vraj or any holy places, if a vendor is selling you certain fruits, and by chance if a parrot has touched that fruit, they'll charge you more for it. Do you know why? Exactly. It's more sweeter. It's sweeter than your normal fruits. So Bhagwatam was a fruit. But since Shukdev ji as a parrot has touched it, it has become even more sweeter. See, while flirting with your partner, tu se na tara hath ma to amrut chhe, tu aape hi khai desh. But this is not a flirt. This is actually evidence that Bhagwatam is more innocent and more lovable because it is coming out from the mouth of Shri Shukdev ji Maharaj. And see, there are two segments of people. One intellectual segment of people who know Bhagwan is everything. And second is the ignorant segment of people who don't know anything but still knows Bhagwan is everything. And both of these segments of people are really keen on getting a fresh perspective about Bhagwan. That's exactly what the translation says. Now please try to read the translation and help me understand if you understood that better or what I said better. Please make the most of it. I know, but that's the problem with the translations as well, that they're humongous in size. I'll try to increase the font size in the next one. Nectarian juice. It's such a funny language. Rasika bhuvi bhavu kanu nectarian juice. Daya aave samana. See, we come from a very different cultured family wherein, we have to abide by the rules and regulations of having a soup or having a keri ka ras with a spoon. You can't just directly utilize your cup and directly start having it. But back in the days, if you were a crazy fanatic of having an amras, you would never wait for someone to actually crush it and then make it and give it for you. You would take the fruit, notch the top, and directly start sucking it from it itself. That's originally how amras were supposed to be, consumed back in the days. And the joy that you have in doing that is never in that supaya namaha. I can't even finish the bowls if I'm having soup. I need something much larger, more consumable in the format of having that amras. See, that's the beauty of consumption. The same forest that I mentioned yesterday, Naimisharanya, Shaunak and Suta. So if you can see two segments of people sitting over here, one who's trying to prescribe and give knowledge, and that's Sut Maharshi. On the other side is the elder one who's also known as Shaunak Rishi. Now Sut Maharshi is a disciple of Shukdevji. He has studied the Bhagwatam. And 1,000 years had surpassed, and all these Rishi Munis had gathered in the forest of Naimisharanya. Since they had gathered in the forest of Naimisharanya, they were trying to have a lot of discussions about what can be the best form of thing that we need to do in order to please the Almighty. And it happened so that Sut Maharshi comes over there. And since he's coming over there, the sages are giving respect to Sut Maharshi because he studied a lot of scriptures. There is no age of learning is something that we need to understand by recognizing Shaunak Rishi, who is the one who has 88,000 students under him. 88,000 students, not a small thing. That caters to almost 3 to 4 universities in India. Some universities only have 25,000 kids under them. You take 3 to 4 universities put together, that's the number of students this one Rishi Muni had. And there's dialogue. The people on the other side are learned. They've studied Vedas, they know scriptures. But they're still asking questions. They're asking questions about how many avatars has the Lord taken? When Lord Krushna came as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, what are the acts that he performed? What are the various activities that he did? What are the different leelas that he engaged himself in? When this Kali Yuga ends, where does this dharma go? Because we all know that this dharma at the end of the day has come from the Lord. Dharmanumul Bhagavan che, Dharmanumul Veda che. The source of this dharma is Veda. The source of this dharma is no one but God, no one but Lord. So when the Kali Yuga is coming and Lord is going back to his own abode, where does this dharma go away? Such is the inquisitiveness of these people. And Shaunak Rishi is representing those people and asking those questions. While answering these questions, Sut Maharshi remembers Shukdevji Maharaj. This is the chitra, this is the picture of Shri Shukdevji Maharaj, who will be referred again and again and again and again in this entire next 6 days of Bhagwat Saptah. Bijo Adhyay Trijo Shlok. There are 2 formats of verses which have been prescribed in Bhagwatam about Shukdevji. One that was before his thread ceremony and one that was after his thread ceremony. While Shukdevji Maharaj was in the womb of the mother, and Vyas Maharshi, the father of Shukdevji, was trying to have a conversation with the kid, saying that, hey, you know what, just come out of the body, I'll ensure that you won't get married. So the condition of Shukdevji to come out was, hey, I won't get married. Only if you're allowing me to not get married, I'm going to come out, otherwise I'm going to stay inside, I'm absolutely okay with it. So Vyas Maharshi ji is like, okay, you know what, I'm not going to make you married, I'm not going to find a girl for you, just come out of your mother. The minute he's outside, primarily in order to be married, you have to go through a lot of sanskars. Like one of the sanskar is you need Yagnopavit sanskar, then you do Samavartan sanskar, and then you do Grihasthashram, that's your Vivaha sanskar. So in order to reach that Vivaha sanskar as well, you need Yagnopavit sanskar in place. But as soon as the father looks at the baby, looks at Shukdevji Maharaj, he feels like, you know what, I have to do it. And the minute Vyas Maharshi ji changes his intent, Shukdevji Maharaj runs away. A 16-year-old boy running away. While he is running away, he enters in a forest. Vyas Maharshi ji is calling out for the kid. And then he recites one shlok. And that one shlok changes the perspective of Shukdevji Maharaj. And he feels like coming back. 16-year-old, fresh brain. Perspective is changed. Comes back. Studies the entire Bhagwatam. And Shukdevji Maharaj in his entire lifeline, as per Bhagwatam, has done only one Bhagwat Saptah. Just one. He might have taught Bhagwatam to Sut Maharshi, but Saptaha per se was only done for one Parikshit, whose story will come in some time from now. Why is Katha important? Why is devotion important is something that has been discussed over here. See, when you appear for examination, tell me one thing. Just prior to the day of examination, do you read the entire guide or do you read 21 papers? Do you read a short version of the entire book or you read the entire book? Why? Because it's impossible to cover the entire book in that stipulated amount of time. That's exactly what is being done in these two adhyayas as well. In these two sub-chapters, sub-chapter 2 and 3, a shorter format of Lord's various leelas have been covered in this chapter. Tell me one thing. How many Vishnu avatars are there? Someone said 10. Officially, in Bhagwatam directly, if you see 22 are mentioned. The popular culture is of 24. Dashavatar are considered to be the mukhya, the main ones. But if you ask me how many avatar has the Lord taken, Hari Naam Ananta, Avatar Ananta. Lord has taken multiple avatars. 24 have been prescribed in this chapter 2 and 3. 22 to be precise. 2 are somewhere you have to do some cross-referencing. And 10 are the most famous ones which have been elaborated upon in the entire Shrimad Bhagwatam. Now please tell me which is the first avatar? Matsya avatar. And what if I tell you according to Bhagwatam it's not Matsya avatar? We believe you? How sweet of you. The avatar kram that you guys are talking about according to Matsya avatar being the first one and Nama avatar being the, considered in the process of evolution, it happened so that according to Vishnu Puran that it starts with a Matsya avatar. But according to Bhagavad Mahapuran it doesn't start with a Matsya avatar. Vara, it starts with Vara. It starts with Yagna Vara, yeah. Canto 3. But prior to that as well, Brahmaji comes. But prior to that as well, Brahmaji comes. And Brahma is an avatar of... Now let's start our debate and conversation. Gods versus Lord. What is the difference between them? Lord is one. God is many. So both are not same. If they were same, I wouldn't be mentioning it over here. Parabrahma and the Devta. Fair. For all those people who have no idea, say hi. Thank you. Yeah, because mouth ne kashta devo pada na. Why to give kashta to your mouth? Let's wave hands. That's much easier. It will burn some more calories as well. For people who don't know the difference, I've acknowledged. For people who know the difference, please give me some fresh perspective over here. I'd love to hear from you. One I heard was Parabrahma and Devta. Aditi? Any thought? Parabrahma and Ishwar? Okay. Chaitanya ji?
I was the one who raised that. I have no idea.
You have no idea. Fair. Rita ji? You've thought upon my questions. I am expecting some highlight from you. Okay. Fair. What do you think?
When we say God, maybe the sun God and different gods. When we say Lord, it means the supreme.
The supreme, the ultimate. Lord is above gods. Chalo, congratulations. Clap for your own self. Wo कंजूस छो. Heard of this term, 33 Koti Devata? 33 crore God. It's actually not God, it's not crore, it's actually types. 33 types of gods. Now, understand one thing, the way a prime minister has his own cabinet, Lord has created cabinet of his own devtas. So there's one Lord. According to Bhagwatam, it's Bhagwan Shri Krushna. Has created his own cabinet of ministers. Indra, ruler of Swarga. Vayu takes care of Vayu. Agni takes care of fire. Jala takes care of water. Ashwini Kumars take care of health. They are devatas. Then comes the concept of Tridev. What is Tridev? Three refers to three. Dev refers to devatas. The Tridev are Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. Brahma takes care of creation. Vishnu takes care of organization. Shiva takes care of destruction. G-O-D. Generator, operator, destroyer. So far so good. In the 11th canto, all these three gods have been tested. क्या हमारी best कौन है? Who's the most supreme authority amongst these three? So we'll talk about it at that given point of time. But remember one thing. You want something, you approach a certain segment of God, they give that thing to you, and the topic ends over there. Tell me one thing, if you want health, whom would you pray? Whom would you pray to? Dhanvantari, fair. If you want long life, having health and long life are two separate things, by the way. For people who feel living longer is actually living a healthy life, it's not so. So if you want health, you pray to Dhanvantari. But what about you wanting a long life? Whom do you pray to? Shiva. You can pray to sun god as well. Shatam jivema sharadaha, shatak gu shrunayama sharadaha. Fair. That's to avoid death, na? That's to avoid death altogether. Here to you are asking कि मने जीवू चे 100 शरद सुधी. I want to live 100 autumns. So you're literally asking for a longer life from the sun god itself. What do you pray Ganeshji for? All your sorrows are taken care of. And also gives you something in return, na? Of course, Ganeshji gives you 2 things in return. No, not Riddhi. कौन पोतानी wife ने आपे? पोतानी दिकरा आपे, शुभ लाभ. Vishnu पासे जशो, if you go to Vishnu, he'll give you Lakshmi or what? You want Lakshmi, go to Mahadev ji. You want Lakshmi, go to Mahadev ji. Mahadev ji will give you Lakshmi, enough Lakshmi. He has enough Lakshmi, but Vishnu is not going to give you Lakshmi. Vishnu is known for taking away Lakshmi actually, if you go and see. I'll give you a very simple example. In Pushtimarg, we have this Vaishnava called Padmanabh Swami. Now, Padmanabh Swami was a renowned Bhagwat Kathakar. And he happened to serve Mathuradhiji. Mathuradhiji is someone who resides in Kota. It's quite some 3-4 hours from Nathdwara. Now this Mathuradhiji one day ensured that Padmanabh Swami's all money is gone. Now Padmanabh Swami doesn't have money. Padmanabh Swami is actually serving Shri Thakurji just by offering chole. This very same Mathuradhiji then goes to Girdharji. Girdharji happens to be the grandson of Shri Mahaprabhuji. And Girdharji decides, okay, you know what, I'm going to do a Chappan Bhog for Mathuradhiji. After offering the Chappan Bhog, Girdharji goes to Mathuradhiji and requests, how was it? Like everything was nice, but I still didn't enjoy as much I used to enjoy Padmanabh Swami's chole. You offer Chappan Bhog, and the Lord is saying, I enjoy Padmanabh Swami's chole more than your Chappan Bhog. It's not the quantum that matters, it's the intent that matters the most. The second perspective that you need to have between gods and lords: should you have multiple gods at home or should you have one lord at home? What is the ideal way for this?
I think it's one beyond system and ethics.
Sure? I'm open to thoughts. You want to justify it more?
I don't want to think about it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. There's no harm in cause here. Don't worry.
I believe that God is in your heart.
Sure?
The way you serve Him is
Sure.
by showing through your action.
Correct.
It's not written. I know it's written, but it's not what you read, it's what you follow.
What if it's both? What if you read and follow?
You do, but some people follow anyway.
Fair. Can reading help you follow it better?
It depends on the person if they wish to.
Sure. Fair.
It can. When you have the will, it can.
Sure. Help me solve this thing. Multiple gods versus one lord in the house. See, it depends on what you want to achieve. If your house believes in exclusivity, like at least mine does, we believe that there's one Lord and all the other gods, I just have to respect them. I don't need to pray them separately. We, in Indian culture, are known for something called as Panchayatan. It's the 5 gods put together in the format of a puja. Please note, I'm not using the word seva, I'm using the word puja. These are 2 separate thought processes. These are 2 separate approaches towards gods and goddesses. Any Hindu house will have these 5 gods: the sun, Ganeshji, Mahadevji, the Kul Devi of your house, Matruka, and Vishnu. Depending on the family that you come from, or the sampradaya, the sect of people that you come from, or depending on the belief system that you come from, your center point of attraction changes. Example, for all those people who believe in Mataji, who go to Chotila, who go to Ambaji, who go to Pavagadh, their center point of attraction is having a Matruka in the middle. All the other gods become sideline for them. Similarly, someone who believes only in Shiva or primarily focuses on praying Shiva, for them, Shiva comes into the center and rest other gods and goddesses become ancillary. The same thing goes for all those people who only believe in Ganesh. So all those people who go to Ashtavinayak, their center point of attraction is with Ganeshji. The rest, all the other gods and goddesses become ancillary. Same thing is applicable for Vishnu as well. Vishnu becomes your center point of attraction and all the other gods or goddesses become sideline. You pray all of them. Where do you pray all of them? When your house or your background or your family supports the thought process of multiple gods. Versus all those people who believe in Srinathji have an exclusivity pact with Thakurji. It's like one boyfriend, one girlfriend rule, or one husband, one wife rule. How does that function? When you have one Lord in place, you need not perform multiple acts or actions towards those gods and goddesses. Obligations, yes. Example, when a Bhagwat Saptah is happening, a Ganpati Sthapan is going to be there. Obligation. It's a mandate. So you finish your first 4 there, and then you focus on one. That's your. So that's why you'll see in the entire Bhagavad Puran, even if there might be a flavor of Shivji or Ganeshji or Matruka, the theme of the entire Puran is always going to be Bhagwan Shri Krishna. Like in Samudra Manthan, you will have Ganeshji and Rudra coming. Tomorrow you will have Rudra's Leela again. In Bhagwatam, in 10th canto, before Bhagwan Shri Krishna's Janma, you will have Matruka, you will have Yog Maya coming over there. And Sun God, we started with Gokarna yesterday itself. So you will see flavors of Panchayat in here and there, but the theme is always going to be Bhagwan Shri Krishna. That's the difference between exclusivity versus other gods and goddesses. If I am exclusive to one Bhagwan Shri Krishna, I need not do a Shivratri. I need not do a Navratri Nana Upvas. I only have to do my 24 Ekadashis and 4 Jayantis. Because I am exclusive to Vishnu. Versus if I was exclusive to only Mataji, then I have to do my Navratri Nana Upvas. So it depends on your approach towards Thakurji. If you consider Thakurji to be an exclusive segment of Lord, then doing daily actions towards other gods and goddesses don't become mandatory anymore. This is what I was trying to prove. Panchayatan versus one Thakurji. If you read 2nd canto, the 2nd skand of Bhagwatam, you will realize that gods have also been originated from the one Purushottam, and that's Lord. કોઈકનું ભગવાનના શ્વાસમાંથી છે, કોઈકનું ભગવાનના નાભીમાંથી છે, કોઈકના ભગવાનના બાહુમાંથી છે, કોઈકના ભગવાનના સ્તનમાંથી છે, એટલે ચેસ્ટમાંથી છે. તો દેવતાની ઉત્પત્તિ, if you see, all the gods also have been originated from the same Lord. Now you might have a concern, but you are talking too much about gods and goddesses. The other sampradayas might not focus on Krishna so much, or they might not. They might consider Mataji to be the supreme one, or they might consider Shiva to be supreme one. Then let me help you get this perspective over here. time and tide, Lord decides which god or goddess should be given a little more preference. In Kali Yuga, specific Kali Yuga right now, people will prefer Kalau Chandi Vinayako. Chandi, that's Matruka, and Vinayak, that's Ganpati. People will be crazy, people will have more faith and inclinations towards these two gods. Now, I'm not saying this, Shastra itself has prescribed this thing. At certain point of time, Lord decides, okay, you know what, I want to have Rudra to take the lead. That's why a Shiv Mahapuran comes into the picture. At once, all gods are praying to a goddess. And that's why Durga plays the lead role at that given point of time. Every god and goddesses gets a period and phase wherein they are formidable and rest gods and goddesses are on the backside. But that's happening because of this one Lord's wish at the end of the day. In Vedas as well, where Brahmins study Vedas, they do something called as Ashtadhyayi. They study the 8 chapters in a way, which are considered to be Rudra Ashtadhyayi. Your Lagu Rudra, Maharudra, Ati Rudra, all of these pujas happen because of that Ashtadhyayi. Now, if you see in the second Adhyay, which is being recited, that's of Vishnu. And rest all the Adhyayas are of Mahadev. As much as two Shaiva and Vaishnavites don't fight, I mean, we fight a lot more than the scriptures actually fighting. And if you really read the scriptures, you will realize Shiva is actually meditating upon Vishnu and Vishnu is actually meditating upon Shiva. They don't have fight amongst each other. It's we who create fights amongst ourselves. They are happily living together. જેનો શ્રીનાથ એને કોઈ બીજા નાથની જરૂરત પડે નહીં. By any chance, if we go next time to Nathdwara, at the Suraj Pole gate, right before the 9 steps come by, on the right side there's a board which says, you go to all the 4 Naths and do the darshan of all the 4 Naths. But if you don't do the darshan of Srinath, all the 4 Naths are still incomplete. So you go to Badrinath, Sriranganath, Jagannath or Dwarikanath. All the 4 Naths are incomplete unless you don't finish Srinath. So yeah, you want to live with an exclusivity clause with Thakurji that, you know what, I am yours, you're mine, I pray you the most. On obligatory days, on days where I have to serve the Vedic culture, I'll pray to the other gods and goddesses. But I need not be fashionably involved in other rituals and practices. Like I don't need to go on a Tuesday to a Siddhivinayak temple separately to pay my respect to Ganeshji. As simple as that. That concludes my point of praying to all versus exclusivity clause. Whatever suits you, whatever suits your family belief, you should be opting for that. My family believes in exclusivity clause. That's why we are Vallabh Sevak. That's why we believe in Srinathji, and that's why we focus only on one Lord. That's right in front of my eyes right now.
Maybe a little off the way the question.
Sure.
Somewhere in the Gita it was talked about that God says that if you focus on one of these gods, then you know, post your departure from the world, you go and live in that.
Loka, correct. Versus
Living in the
where he resides. So, when we study mukti, the point of liberation comes. So see, this is for those people who believe that there's something beyond this life as well, and would like to have a similar board of the divine. On the other side, there are certain segment of people who wish to come back and serve the Lord again. Like you ask a Vaishnava, they'll never say, I don't want to go to a Vaikunt. I want to be here. Vrajavalu re Vaikunt nahi re aavu. Why Vrajavalu? Because Krushna is directly accessible there. Why Vaikunt? Because there are so many people in line already that my number, I don't know when it's going to come. So for a certain segment of people, they want to come back again and again and again and serve that Lord. On the other side, when you pray a certain segment of deity, you can go to their lok as prescribed in Gita. But when it comes to praying this one ultimate supreme power, either of the two things will happen. Either you stay with him for the longest duration of time, and when he's going to come down, you are also supposed to come down. Or you do something wrong there and you'll end up coming down. Karma is going to stay with us even after death. Soul and karma have a haldi chandan. They have a haldi kumkum relationship. They're always going to be with each other.
So you are doing actually karma even in book.
So let's just say you have a credit balance of 1 lakh. You spend 1 lakh. What happens next? You have to repay it. What if you don't repay it? And let's just say tomorrow Thakurji decides, I am going down. Chalo, everyone else go down. Do you all know how Vraj came into existence? Do you all know Vraj? Uttar Pradesh, Mathura, Gokul, Vrindavan, Barsana, etc. That's called Vraj. Do you know how that came into existence? Once Radhaji decided that, we are supposed to go to planet Earth. Radhaji is like, I have a condition. Until as you don't get Govardhan, until as you don't get Yamuna, until as you don't get the same thing down, I'm not coming. Thakurji is like, okay, I'll get it for you. And that's how Vraj came into existence. And while he came down on planet Earth, he ensured all his soul also came down. That's what we say in Brahma Saman mantra as well. Na? Hajaro varshothi vikhuto padelo hu jeev. I'm the soul who has been departed from you. I've been divided from you since thousands of years and I want to achieve you back. That's pushti for you. Maryada, you can lead anywhere. You can go to Ganesh lok, Ganeshji's lok, you can go to Mahadevji's lok, you can go to Brahmaji's lok. Vaikunt, you need Vishnu. What I was trying to prove is Bhagavad saying the same thing. Ete chansakala punsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. Bhagwan. This word Bhagwan. What does it mean? What does Bhagwan mean? Hello, I'm trying to talk to you. Can you hear me? Is my voice audible? What does Bhagwan mean? Sure. Panchmahabhut, okay, fair. You're going in the right direction, but I think the calculus is incorrect. Yeah, I get it. You might have heard, that WhatsApp forward, boo, ga, va, no, no, it's not that. It's a humanified, interpretation of Bhagwan. Yeah, fair. But I appreciate your effort. वो जल्दी से So I'll help you with the split. See, a person who has money, you call them dhanavan. Someone who has wisdom, you call them vidyavan or buddhiman, shaktiman in case if they have power. So this bhag plus van is what the game is all about. Bhag refers to 6 qualities and van refers to carrying them. I'm sorry for the inconvenience of the font size. I'll contemplate it better next time and I'll get you a bigger size of font. Bhag refers to 6 qualities, which are divided as Aishwarya, that's your prosperity or affluence. Second is Virya, courage. Third is Yasha, fame. Fourth is Shree, that's your wealth. Fifth is Jnana, that's your wisdom. And sixth is Vairagya, that's your detachment. Someone who carries these 6 qualities and also has the ultimate power in him is called Bhagavan. Now, kindly check any god or goddess who has all these 6 qualities, and they have a tick mark on all of these 6. If you tell me Mahadevji has all 6, then I tell you he doesn't have the last one. One of the other reasons why he gets angry, way too much. Sure. You want me to explain these 6 qualities, or why Mahadevji doesn't have the last one? Can you wait till tomorrow? Sure. Will you note it down in your phone right away? That I have to ask this question tomorrow. Sure. Aishwarya, that's prosperity or affluence. Second is Virya, that's courage. Third is Yasha, that's fame. Fourth is Shree, that's wealth. Fifth is Jnana, that's wisdom or knowledge. And sixth is Vairagya. See, I'm not negating Mahadevji. All I'm trying to say is, he has a quality called tamas in him. And because of tamas, he can take an avatar of Rudra. He can showcase his anger as an expression just like this. It's not bad. It's a quality, it's an attribute. A Bhagwan on the other side has a different segment of quality and attribute altogether. But this 6th point will help us prove the difference between a Bhagwan and a Deva tomorrow, when we do Samudra Manthan Leela. Okay, so someone who carries these 6 qualities and has all the ultimate power is considered to be Bhagwan. According to Bhagwatam, it is Bhagwan Shri Krishna. Something that we spoke upon in the previous session. Now let me introduce to you a character called Vedavyas. Considered to be the author of Mahabharata. But tell me one thing, was either one writing? Then who wrote Mahabharata? Fantastic. You're absolutely right. Now the condition between these two, I'm not sure if you all are aware of, but the condition was, Ganeshji will stop writing if Vedavyasji stops mentioning or reciting. On the other side, Vedavyasji is putting a condition to Ganeshji that if you write without understanding, it's not okay for me. See, you want to do business transaction, learn from them. It's a win-win for both. Ganeshji cannot write without understanding. Vedavyasji ensures that he says certain complex statements which Ganeshji takes some time to comprehend. He takes some time to understand them. Only after understanding them, he writes them down. This gives Vedavyasji enough time to think further. Either way. Now, who is this Vedavyas? Vedavyasji is one of the avatars of Vishnu. Vedavyas is one of the avatars of Vishnu. What is Vedavyas's responsibilities or duties? He is considered to be the avatar of wisdom, Jnana avatar. What has Vedavyasji done? 17 Puran to be precise, initially. Bifurcation of one Veda into 4 parts. You feel Vedas are 4. Technically, Vedas were only 1. There was only one Veda, which got bifurcated into 4 parts. The bifurcation of Ved was done by Vedavyas. You might have heard Rug, Yajur, Samathar. Apart from that, Vedas have a scripture called Upanishad. Vedavyas has propounded his own thoughts about the higher purpose, which is called Brahma Sutra. Brahma is the origin of the universe. Explaining you the concept of that Brahma is called Brahma Sutra. while explanation of this Brahma Sutra is taking place, now look at the amount of content that has been written down. Look at the amount of scriptures that have been written down by Shri Vedyasji. Bifurcation of the Vedas, 18 Puranas, compilation of Brahma Sutra, writing down of Mahabharata. By the way, fun fact, how many shlokas are there in Mahabharata? Take any guess. Take any random guess. 1,000, 1 lakh, any random guess. Yeah, just that you'll have to be a little louder. 18,000, Mahabharata. Nah. 1 lakh. Technically, they were 60 lakhs. 60 lakhs. Mahabharata had 60 lakh verses in it. 30 lakh went to Brahmalok, 15 lakh went to Pitrulok, 14 lakh went to Gandharvalok, and 1 lakh came to Bhulok. And in that as well, Vedyasji is saying some 2,000 verses are beyond your human capacity only. Oh, 6,000 verses, sorry. More than 6,000 verses are beyond our human capacity. Now you put Iliad and Odyssey, which are considered to be the Western topmost scriptures, you put them together, they are still falling short of Mahabharata. 1 lakh verses is what you get right now. And despite of all of these, okay, someone is creation, his job is creation, and he's feeling discontent. He's not happy. Imagine you having tons of money and you're still unhappy in life. Someone whose job is to give wisdom, has given utmost amount of wisdom in the world, stands to be unhappy. What to do? Shu karwanu? Satisfaction no hoy jeevan ma to. What are you supposed to do when you don't have satisfaction? You have to write something else. Nice. What do we do if we are unsatisfied in life, dissatisfied in life? I go for a ride. What do you do?
I would say let go.
You let go?
Like you mentioned that you let go of the baggage, you don't carry it around.
And perfect.
Cut it off.
And you need someone to tell you that with authority. Someone who has the authority to tell you that, you need that person to guide you in that direction. And that's exactly what has been done by Naradji to Vedavyas. Vedyasji is being reminded of by Naradji that, you did everything. Every possible act in your capacity, right by writing Mahabharata to getting Brahma Sutras in place, to bifurcating the Vedas, to getting your other 17 Purans in place. But tell me one thing, did you ever sing the qualities, did you ever recite the beauty of Bhagavan ever in your life? Have you ever extolled him in your life? You've spoken so much about Gnyan, there's so much amount of high amount of philosophy that you've given. Have you ever spoken like a layman and appreciated that Almighty? No. Vedyasji is like, no, I haven't done it. So how do I solve that problem? At that time, Devarshi Naradji, who is considered to be the Rishi of gods, he starts explaining him about the previous life. How in his previous birth he got associated with holy saints and how holy saints actually changed his life. See, I'll tell you one thing. There's a quote in English which says, people want change but they're not willing to change. You cannot have change until unless you have an open mind and perspective that, the change is going to be for good. Reason being, it annihilates your belief system. Because your belief system has been stabilized, it has some foundation or the principles or the thoughts which have been given to you by some closed ones, or it is because it is happening because of some experiences that might have happened in your life. Now, I will give you a belief system example. A small child goes to, a gas and accidentally touches the vessel and realizes, this is hot. I shouldn't be here. It's a belief system that is being created. That's why the child will never step foot in the kitchen. Once you beat a child, the belief system is created that this person can actually hit you. And it takes years of conversation and let go and therapy and understanding and fighting with oneself to let that one negative feeling go. That someone hit you when you were tender age of 6 or 7 and you created an enemy for life out of them. Sometimes the most sorted people are so intertwined, even they need unwinding. Most of the times, we humans are desperate for solutions. We want the shortest way of success. Especially my generation, which believes in the fast food generation. Including our food, our thoughts are also very fast. We want success very quickly. But it has taken years of practice for someone like Vyas Maharshi to reach at the level that he has. And Naradji is coming and explaining him that the right kind of company I had is what made me who I am. The common statement in the literature states, show me your friends and then I'll tell you who you are. In the other grounds, and from a satsang point of view, if you see, tell me whom you are surrounded by. Accordingly, I can tell you what your action really looks like. What happens to a lion when he's surrounded by a sheep? And just because there's a sheep amongst a lion, it's about your capacities and your capabilities as well, how much you want to grow in life. Naradji talks about his previous birth and eventually gives us the Gayatri of Bhagwan. This one mantra that ensured that he got Bhagwan. Now, why am I inclined towards this mantra? Let me tell you one thing. This mantra has 4 elements. It has Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha and Sankarshan. Bhagavan has 4 attributes. Vasudev, Sankarshan, Aniruddha and Pradyumna. Sankarshan is the protector. Pradyumna is the one who increases, who procreates, creates the legacy forward. Vasudeva is someone who can give you moksha. The 4 attributes of Lord are confined in this one verse itself. Anyone in the world who loves Lord can actually recite this mantra and eventually avail Lord. Would you like to recite it? Sure. Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam. Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam. Vasudevaya Dhimahi. Vasudevaya Dhimahi. Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya. Pradyumna Anayaniruddhaya. Namah Sankarshanaya cha. Namah Sankarshanaya cha. Bhagwan, so Sankarshan slays the Asurs. That's the role of Sankarshan. Pradyumna is someone who procreates. Vasudeva is someone who gives you moksha. So all the 4 attributes of Lord can actually become qualities which can govern you and guide you in the longer force and the longer run. This is something that Naradji had utilized in order to achieve God, and this is the same mantra Naradji gave to Vyas Maharshi ji. Now I have a question for all of you. Is Bhagwatam written or no? Like Mahabharata is something that has been written. Was Bhagwatam written or no? For people with no idea, just show me hi. Thank you. Vedas were never written. In the universe, there was a mantra. The mantra was meditated upon by a rishi. Similarly, by reciting this Gayatri mantra of Bhagwan, Ved Vyasji eventually happened to visualize the Bhagwatam. He had a darshan of the Bhagwatam. The 18,000 verses of Shrimad Bhagwatam came as a visual in the meditation. They were never written by anyone. Now, if you can correlate to the logic that we had, Gayatri Bija, Veda Vriksha, Bhagavad Phal, even the Vedas were never written down. Even the Vedas were eventually, they were Shruti, they were heard, they were meditated upon. Since they were meditated upon, they were compiled together. And that's how we got the Vedas in place, exactly how Shrimad Bhagwatam came into place. With the printing press coming in, some 700 years ago, the scripture was written down. Prior to that, the scripture was transmitted orally, just like how Vedas were transmitted orally. Now let's enter to the phase of Mahabharata. Something which might be in your comfort area. Heard of Mahabharata? Tell me a little more about it. What is Mahabharata all about? Difficult to describe, now 1 lakh verses in one line. Two brothers fighting for a kingdom. Yeah, that's enough or no? And whatever happens in the middle. Wherever there is Dharma, over there is going to be Jaya. So, the Mahabharata battle is about to end. And since it is about to end, there's this one human called Ashwatthama. This is not the Ashwatthama of the series, web series that we have seen. This Ashwatthama is a legitimate character who is the son of Drona. Drona happens to be the teacher of Pandavas. So on one side there are Pandavas, on the other side there are Kauravas. Kauravas are 100, Pandavas are 5. So they are supposed to fight against each other for the right of Hastinapur and the entire kingdom. And the teacher of Pandavas happened to be fighting with the Kauravas. Now everyone is almost dead, and that poor Duryodhan is also lying on his deathbed. And Ashwatthama decides, you know what, I want to kill all the 5 Pandavas. Fine. Now Ashwatthama, what he does something that he's not supposed to. He comes to the tent of Pandavas. He thought that Pandavas might be sleeping, but he realized that Pandavas are not sleeping. But there are 5 children of these Pandavas who are sleeping. He gets a sword, cuts them off during their sleep, takes their heads, goes to Duryodhan, gives the heads to Duryodhan, and Duryodhan prior to that was asking, did you really kill Pandavas? Show me the proof. When he gives the proof, when he gives those heads, the skulls to them and realizes, you know what, these are not Pandavas. The heads cannot be so soft. And that's when the epiphany happens and Duryodhan realizes, you know what, you actually killed those people who could have given us Jalki Anjali, who could have done the Tarpan for us after we have been dead. You literally killed our protege. You actually killed our new generation. And happened so that Draupadi realizes that, you know, my 5 children have been killed. And Draupadi is crying. The question is, why is Draupadi crying? With a logical mindset, we'll say, Draupadi is about to cry. Why? Because her own 5 children have died. But that's not the reason why she's crying. Look at the mother of the scripture. Look at the mothers. Look at the ladies that are there in our scriptures. Oh God, Draupadi is such a beautiful character. Let me tell you an amazing fact about her. The entire money management of Pandavas was actually done by Draupadi. Who says women can't handle money? It's an absolutely illogical thought. Entire wealth managed by one lady, Draupadi. All 5 brothers get wealth managed by one person. She knows the number of counts of how many vessels are there in the house, and along with that, she overlooks all the people who are assisting her in taking care of the house. People who feel down upon housewives, I'm really sorry, your perspective is too narrow for life. A lady who can manage house can ensure she can manage entire kingdom as well, if she wants to. And that's what we can learn from Draupadi. But Draupadi is not crying because her children have died. There's one more additional factor that's playing a role for her sorrow. Think, what could it be? And please, it's Draupadi, it's not supposed to be usual. Draupadi is not a usual lady. That's one perspective. Exactly. No chance of defense is still helplessness, but these children were not even ready. Their sanskars were not even done. They were under the age of 5. જે બાળકના સંસ્કાર નથી થયા એને ગળેથી કાપવામાં આવેલા. She's like, I didn't even get a chance to grow them. And that's when this guy has killed them. And that's when the test happens. The question was how to punish Ashwatthama. And here's when Krushna comes into the picture and he tries to test Arjun whether he has studied my Gita or not. Let me test him. See, in Shastras now it has been mentioned you should never let your enemy stay ever. Ever. And they give you an example of a small sparkle of fire. A small firefly can burn an entire forest. That's what has been prescribed in Shastras. So A, you are never supposed to leave your enemy ever alive. Something on the similar lines, as logic has been propounded, has been proposed to Arjun, and Arjun is on a test. On one side, should I be looking at my grieving wife? Or the other side, should I be taking care of the test that Krushna is putting me through? What would you do? Would you kill Ashwatthama or no? On the other side, Draupadi is saying, hey, you know what? He's your Guru Bhai. Guru Bhai refers to, he's the son of your Guru. He also has the same Guru. You shouldn't be killing him. Bhagavan is saying, kill. On the other side, wife is saying, don't kill. What do you do? Isn't that your life all about best friend talking something, wife talking something else? Hey, I'm not married, but I still understand this. What to do? Leave him to his fate. Fair.
Do something that will not kill him, but give him the punishment that he has to do.
That is equal to death. That's equal to death. Yeah? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. When you can't kill someone, you destroy them in a way so that they never ensure that their knees are worth standing in front of you anymore. You want to destroy someone, you destroy them in a way so that they never take their knees or they never stand a foot in front of you ever. Now, how do you kill a Brahmin? How do you insult a Brahmin? Insult itself is death for a Brahmin. So you lay off all his tattva, you lay off all the aura that he has and let him wander around. So you take away the charm from Brahmin, the Brahmin is done. The Brahmin will never step his foot again in that space ever for life. Because for Brahmin, more than money, self-respect matters the most. And it's the case and scenario for anyone who has self-respect in the world. જેનું conscience મરી ગયું છે ને એને self-respect ની નહીં ફરક પડે. Yeah, they are happy to do whatever they want to. They can kill people, have the time of their life, destroy people, torture people, punish people. They can do anything they want to. And that's what Kalyug Ke Lakshan will talk about in some time from now. So how do you kill them? And by the way, Draupadi is showing compassion. Look at the translation over here. Due to her female nature, due to her naturally good and well-behaved scenario, she is the one who's showing him respect. She has the courtesy. She has the one who has some kind of grace that she's letting him go. And that's why it is said, Kshama Virasya Bhushanam. Kshama, forgiveness, is an adornment of the one who are mighty. Forgiveness is something that you can't buy on Amazon. It requires a big heart to have it and to give you one at the same time. So from my mind, I forgive you. But if my actions don't show that, things are fine between each other, there's no point of forgiving you from your mind as well. Now for all those people who have a soul in their stomach, who are trying to raise a baby, Ashwatthama was such a cult. He wanted to destroy one more protege of Pandavas. Uttara was the mother of Parikshit. If I'm not wrong, Abhimanyu's wife. Abhimanyu was son of Arjun. So Arjun's son Abhimanyu, Abhimanyu's wife Uttara. Uttara was pregnant and had Parikshit in her body. And this Ashwatthama was such a cult, he ensured that he threw a Brahmastra on her. He wanted to kill that last seed of the family as well. And this is what Uttara recites. Pahi pahi mahayogin deva deva jagatpate. You are the Lord of the Lord, you are the Lord of the universe. You are the greatest amongst the mystics as well. It's your responsibility to protect me, to save me. You can take a... Hamna bolo? Okay. Sure. So this is in context with all those people. This is for the protection of your baby. From any forms of ill effects, negative energy, people giving you wrong perceptions, from wrong thoughts. Even if death as a thought is troubling you, this is supposed to be recited by the mothers while they have a spring in their womb. So I'm going to recite it over here. You all can recite it after me. Pahi pahi mahayogin Deva deva jagatpate Nanyam twadbhayam pashye Yatra mrityuh parasparam Yatra mrityuh parasparam. If you are facing death, if you are facing the thought of death, if you are facing any form of negative thoughts, it's the Lord who will enter your womb and take care of your child. That's the entire objective behind this shloka. Now what happened after this when Uttara ensured that she recited these verses? Lord took a small form, this size of a form, entered Uttara's womb and ensured that the Brahmastra never attacked the child. Not just the child, but the mother was also protected at the same time. So if you have belief in the lotus feet of Lord, you can recite these verses and ensure that positive aura and positive vibrations can be given to your child, and all the negative thoughts, all the negativity that's surrounding you, which is hampering your thought process, can be controlled and be taken care of. My recommendation would be, I'll send you the screenshot of this and do this part on a daily basis. So Uttara's prayers were answered. Sure. Sure. Very good. The context comes from your only. So if that has been given along with this, they both can do wonders. Lovely. Lovely. So she can continue the same practice and the practices can be taken forward as well. Okay. What Dadiji is trying to talk about is, parallel to Bhagwatam, Shri Mahaprabhuji has compiled 1000 names of Lord, which are in context with the Leela done by the Lord. So because Lord over here is saving Uttara and her offspring at the same time, Shri Mahaprabhuji has prescribed a name for that. And that same verse was given to you prior to this, when Ridan was coming, if I'm not wrong. Ridan is the name, right? Yeah. So now you have the idea behind it. So even this verse, Pahi Pahi Mahayogin, and that verse that she's mentioning, they go on the similar lines. But this is the story behind it. For any Sanskrit verse, please make a note of this. You can see a different form of annotation over there. You see Pahi, Pahi. Then you see Mahayogin, Deva, Deva, Jagat, Pate. See, Sanskrit as a language needs to be pronounced in a particular way. Since English couldn't do the justice to it, they started having some form of... So if you see, there is a bar over the A, which refers to A. Like my name is Aditya. So I don't have to write double A. I just have to write A with a bar on it. My name has Tya. Ta is half. If you see over here, Jagat. Ta doesn't have an A after that. It doesn't have an A after that. In 1902, there was a conference between Sanskrit experts and English experts, and they came up with this entire format of a language which makes it easy for you to do pronunciation of Sanskrit verses as well. So if you don't know Sanskrit, and if you still read the next one, if you only read the Uttaro Vacha, it says Pahi, Pahi, Maha, Yogin, Deva, Deva, Jagatpate. It still says the same thing. It's just that you need to get habituated to what was there in that format altogether. If you invest some like 2-3 months on a daily basis, you will be fine. You will be able to read any scripture in the world which has ISAT format of writing, ISAT format of writing. That's the ISAT format of writing. For a matter of fact, if you are an avid reader of ISKCON books, ISKCON ka books are always in this format. They'll give you the original text in Sanskrit, then they'll give you the similar text in English, so that it becomes easy for you to pronounce them, and then give you translations as well. So yeah, Parikshit got saved thanks to, yeah.
Ru sound is what? The Ru sound. Where in the I said for the Ru? Rushi,
Do you,
Krishna.
you see Mru, Mrutyu, the R with a dot? The Kru is also written like that. See, what happened was, technically it was K-R-S-N-A, but that R was with a dot at the bottom. That means Krushna. But we made it Krishna. And hence everyone started writing JSK. K-R-I-S-H-N-A. Now Krishna doesn't have a meaning altogether. By the way, whoever has a habit of saying Krishna, there's no meaning to it. It's Krushna, Ana. So it's K-R. That's how it works. Moving on, it's a very interesting element to hear about Kunti, because there are very limited number of people in the world who are asking for sorrow. And Kunti happens to be one of them. Kunti ji is the mother of Pandavas. This is one of the other interesting shlokas, which is very famous in our culture. It says, Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya. This is Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Who's Krishna? He's Vasudev. He's the child of Devaki. That's why it's called Devaki Nandanaya cha. He's Nanda Gopa Kumar. Someone who's a cowherd, who's actually going and grazing the cows in the field of Vrindavan. And he's Govinda himself. Kunti ji is one of those characters in the Sanatan Dharma who's asking for sorrow so that you can remember Lord. No one has the capacity to ask for sorrow of the world, but she's the one who's asking for it. So Kunti ji also prays to Lord. Moving on, Arjun remembers the thoughts of Gita and he also prays to God in the same scenario. Mahabharata ends and Yudhishthir is thinking that I'm the most sinful man in this world. My heart is full of ignorance. Why? Because so many people have died. We're talking about 18 phalanxes, Akshoyini. The numbers that you see on the board, you have to multiply it by 18 and that will give you an answer. That these many chariots and these many elephants and these many infantries and these many cavalries were actually destroyed. खून की नदियां बही थी, in short, in a Mahabharata Yuddha. But do you know a fact that anyone who died in Mahabharata actually got Swarg? क्योंकि जवान शहीद होता है, उसकी गति ऊपर की होती है. Anyone who fights in a war attains the Swarg. Because you're fighting for your homeland. You're fighting for a bhumi, you're fighting for your country, you're fighting for a nation, you're fighting for a cause. Despite this thought, Yudhishthira is trying to mourn and eventually has certain questions. And these questions are asked to Bhagwan Shri Krishna, and Bhagwan Shri Krishna is like, hey, you know what? Instead of me answering it, why don't I divert these questions to Bhishma? Because Bhishma is someone who studied Dharma quite enough. So all these questions are diverted to Bhishma, and Bhishma is lying actually. He's lying on a bed of arrows. ગુજરાતીમાં કહેવાય છે બે આંગળ જગ્યા પણ નથી. There's no two space as well, wherein this much amount of space is also not there, where there's not an arrow on his body. This is just for representation purpose so that you don't feel horrified with the way he was looking back in the time. And now, look at the case and scenario of Bhishma Pitama. He's ending his life. He's almost on the verge of his end. Yudhishthira is asking all the segment of questions. Bhishma is answering these segment of questions. And Draupadi is like, who are you to answer these questions? Wherein you are the one who couldn't stop my Chirharan. You at the moment, you had the right, but you didn't do this. You do that at that given point of time. How does it make you eligible to answer these questions? Bhishma has a response to that. You know what, Draupadi? I'm purified now. My body doesn't even have blood, which was made out of the food that I had eaten during the days. Hence, I am in the eligible space to give you answers of all these questions, despite knowing that I had done wrong. Realization is the phase which helps you understand that your life has changed. There are so many human beings on the planet Earth who have realized things but haven't changed. Despite being on the deathbed, over here, Bhishma is answering certain questions in context with God. And during his final interaction, which is called the Bhishma Stuti, generally when your ancestors pass away, after that Bhishma Stuti's part is done for a certain period of time, in context with remembering your ancestors and in order to have prayers for them. But while Bhishma is having conversation, he's trying to extol Lord. He extols Lord Krushna. And what does he say? Iti mati rupa kalpita vitrushna. Iti mati. I am first offering my intellect in the lotus feet of the Lord. As prescribed earlier as well, the one who has a humongous amount of ego will say, hey, I am doing this. But someone who's humble enough to understand it will say the God is ensuring that this is being done via me. I'm just a medium. The one who's doing is actually him. You can have ego about wealth. You can have ego about popularity. You can have ego about fame. You can have ego about the associations that you have developed. You can have ego about knowledge. You can have ego about power. But vidya vinayena shobhate. Knowledge is only attractive when it's humble. When humility is being showcased, you don't need any other adornment. Humility is such a beautiful ornament. Put aside your diamond studs or your precious stones or your rubies and whatnot in life, or pokhraj in life. Humility is one such thing you don't need any other adornment in life. Who's the source of your intellect at the end of the day? Who's making you think? That noble thought that's coming in your mind, who's giving you that? You might not even realize that you might have eaten once upon a time you might have eaten his prasadam. And because of that prasadam, some kind of positive thought might have stayed in your life for the longest duration of time. And actually when the right time comes, you can use that thought, which Karna couldn't. Karna had the arms and ammunitions, but he couldn't remember it at the right moment. How is Lord Krishna? He is not the only one who drives the chariot. He is also the one who takes care of the horses. He is not just responsible for riding, he is also responsible for the maintenance of the one who is being rode upon. I think this is the biggest learning for all of us. We are slaves of our own senses. Senses are considered to be Ashva. If Lord is taking care of the Ashva, why are we not taking care of our own Ashva? Indriyas are Ashva. And Ashvas need to be taken care of. If the Lord who's riding those horses is taking care of his senses, why can't we take a simplest learning from him? Such small beautiful messages have been compiled in something called as Bhishma Stuti. It's not a Bhishma Prarthana, it is a Bhishma Stuti. Bhishma is extolling the Lord. And for one fine sake, the Lord is right in front of his eyes. People have faced terrible deaths in their life. But look at the death over here. Whose abode you are supposed to reach is right in front of you. Since the war had ended, Yudhishthir was the king. Everyone was very happy. There were no enemies. Living beings were happy. There were no diseases. Everyone had good food. They were not disturbed by mental issues in life. Pretty sorted lifestyle was happening at that given point of time. And Lord also decided, you know what? It's my time. Let me go. Let me go to Dwarka. That's where my people are. And while Lord was departing and he was entering Dwarka, people at Dwarka were also very keen and excited. If you all know, Dwarka was made it overnight. Vishwakarma was the one to make it. When Lord enters to Dwarka, before he enters, his Dhwaj is being showcased and people are very excited that Lord is about to enter. See, there's always an excitement when a positive energy is going to come to your house. Despite being in a supreme age, Dadiji was excited to have Bhagwatji at home. She was excited to have Bhagwatji on her head. She was excited that she wanted to be the first one to do the tilak of the Bhagwatji when the Bhagwatji was coming into the house. She was the one who wanted her daughter-in-laws and her daughters to go in the house with the Bhagwatji in their hand, on their head, go to room in room, spread the positivity and the aura that the Bhagwatji carries. This is what excitement is. Excitement is not dancing 2 hours in front of a barat. Excitement is actually vadhaving chokha, the akshat on the blessed couple when they are doing their feras. That's entertainment. That's excitement. 2 different things altogether. And let me tell you one thing, you don't need 500 people to showcase that excitement. 5 people of your own family can showcase that excitement. Even the Dwarka Vasis know that, you know what, he is my mother, he is my father. Same context of the shloka that we recited yesterday, Tvameva Mata Pita Tvameva. Tvameva Mata Tha Surat Patihi Pita. Who are you? You are our mother, you are our well-wisher, you are the Lord, you are the Father, you are the spiritual master, you are someone whom we can worship. And you were not with us for a long duration of time. I'm glad that you are back. See, Krushna as a Lord is not like Mahadevji in Kailash who is residing in one place altogether. Krishna is on the go. In Vraj as well he was on the go. In Mathura as well he was on the go. In Dwarka as well he is on the go. So many times, despite residing in Dwarka, Bhagavan Shri Krishna has visited Pandavas so many times in Hastinapur, Kurukshetra. In current day and time as well, you know how far they are. હવે ત્યારે ટ્રાફિક હતો નહોતો એ મને નથી ખબર. And despite being Lord, being transcendental in nature, still he had to transmit from one location to the other. Just to see his bhakta. Just to see his bhakta. Now that same Parikshit, who was being protected in the garbha, in the womb of Uttara, now takes birth. It's Vishnu's prasad at the end of the day. Parikshit is one of those blissful souls, blessed souls who was being blessed by Lord because Lord himself came down to protect him. Because there was a bigger purpose. And since the moment Parikshit was born, he was known to take test of people. He was continuously engaged in taking people's pariksha, hence Parikshit. Sometimes you might have heard in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is referred as Kaunteya. He's referred to as Kaunteya because he's the son of Kunti. There was a methodology of naming children back in the days. They would be known by their father's name and the mother's name as well. Why is Ramchandraji known as Raghunandan? The one who was born in the Kul of Raghu. He's Raghunandan. Same goes with Bhagwan Shri Krishna as well. Naming children was a thought process behind it. Moving on, Vidurji comes to know about that finally good things have happened in life. Vidurji is someone who had gone on a pilgrimage and got to know that Yudhishthira has finally captured over the Hastinapur, and he had got some great amount of knowledge from Maitreya Muni and eventually decided to return to Hastinapur. So when it comes to Hastinapur, Vidurji is the epitome of giving us family values. You want to learn how to behave in front of family, you want to learn how to maintain relations in front of family or with family, you need family values. Vidurji is your solution. I happened to see a video. I was mentioning to Radhika yesterday about it. I think she was at the entrance of the Ambani family while they were welcoming her. And she had the courtesy to actually bow down to each and every elder she met. Right from brother-in-law to mother to father to dadi to chachu to everyone, till that extent even Jamaisa of their family. And I was happy to see that. Because in day and age, if we ask someone to bow down and do a namaskar as well, it's a big thing for them. And she actually did a semi-format of it, and I was really happy to see that. This is what sanskar is all about. These are the family values, these are the traditional values, these are the qualities which are imbibed if we read Vidur's character. We think that Indian family system is not meant for sharing and learning and conversational nature. Well, it's not true actually. This is the same Indian family system which makes you understand that prapte tu shodashe varshe putra mitravat acharet. When your child becomes 16 years of old, that means the minute he gets moustache, you are supposed to treat him as a friend and not as a child anymore. That means any negative or positive happening in his life, he need not just have a friend whom he can share with, he needs to have a father or a mother as well so that he can share it with. To person to share with. As simple as that. What has happened to this society all of a sudden? This one society which was formidable in thinking was laying of boundaries between father and a child and a mother and a child. All of a sudden the houses have increased, the rooms have increased, but the relations have gone narrowed. I've heard so many brothers and sisters living in one small house of 1 BHK and 2 BHK, and there were 9 brothers and sisters, and they had a fantastic bond amongst each other. And now we have 5 BHK houses, 6 BHK houses. People living in these houses are 4. And the relations between them have got narrowed even further. Like till that extent that my dad has to WhatsApp me to call him, beta, can I call you right now? It's true. It is so. There was no motivational factor to make you understand કે પગે શા માટે લાગવાનું. લાગવાનું, simple, આશીર્વાદ મળે છે. Which system in the world gives you blessings directly? Tell me. Tell me, show in the Western culture how are blessings function. Tell me. How do you greet your grandparents over there in the Western culture? Help me understand it. That's it. What happens in our culture, this is the Abhay Mudra. When someone bows down, you put your hand on them, you're transmitting your power, your blessings to them. And when the word Ashirvad comes, remember one thing, it's eternal. Shabda is Brahma at the end of the day. Shabda Brahma, that's what we call it. It's an eternal word. Something that has been recited has a power. You don't know when this is going to be useful. You've really no idea when this can be useful. It's not just in the segment of calamities that someone has saved you. There's a high chance and possibility that the food that you are eating today is actually someone's blessings back in the days. It's just that we don't know about it. But the problem is, prosperity also brings casualness. You become casual about certain things. And this is exactly where Vidur's thought process. Now see, on one side, where all the good things are being said upon, Vidur is also someone who's guiding Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. You've been insulted enough, please move out of the house. What more do you want to see? When I was telling you certain things, you couldn't understand. This same Dhritarashtra, when he was in a lot of pain and he was in a lot of mental agony, he was the one inviting Vidur, Vidur, please tell me things that can solve my problems. And that's when Vidur Niti comes into the picture. There's a lot of impatience, there's a lot of incompleteness in Dhritarashtra's mind. And in middle of the night, he's sending a soldier saying that, get me Vidur. And when the soldier is announcing, now, look at the culture that's there. When the soldier is announcing that Vidur is over here, he is seeking permission to enter your room. You know what is Dhritarashtra responding? Dhritarashtra is saying, Vidur doesn't need anyone's permission to come to my room. Courtesy. You go to an ICBI, Image Consultancy Institute, just to learn how to behave in front of people. This handshake is considered dominance, this is considered submissive, this is considered formal. Your grip in your handshake defines what kind of a personality trait that you have. આના માટે મારે કોર્સ નહોતો કરવો પડતો. I didn't have to pay a B school extra amount of money just to teach me how to do a handshake. This was a part of Indian ethos system altogether. And you need a trigger. Vidur was a trigger over here. Vidurji was a trigger for Dhritarashtra and Gandhari to leave the house. But tell me one thing. Najar lage ke na lage? Let's deal with this word called superstition. Najar lage ke na lage? No lage? Okay. Lage? Baki બધા શું ફરક પડે છે? Not everyone in this world is actually thinking good about you. There are so many people who are jealous of what you have. They can't think straight. They won't think good about you. I'll give you a very simple scenario. This is not a concept of najar, but I'm giving you a concept of intent. Okay? Once there was this one sevak of Srinathji. He was carrying a glass of milk. The glass of milk had kesar and all these badam pista. Well-nourished milk glass was being offered to the Lord. Just while taking, he's a servant, okay? He's a servant and he's taking that, he's a sevak of Lord and he's taking that glass of milk to Lord. He had an intent of a thought, I wish I had a glass of milk like that. That intent, he wanted a glass of milk like that. Now tell me, is it good or is it bad? The guy who's serving you food of your own house is thinking, Kash mana maidu hoth. From a humanitarian standpoint, you might think that there's nothing wrong. It's obvious. Because the concept of haves and have-nots comes into the picture. You have something that they don't have. But the metaphysical part of it talks about the energy which is going behind the intent of not having it. So if we feel that, everyone has a clean slate of heart and, we should not judge anyone's intent and we should not judge people's intention or how they think about us or what they perceive about us. Let me tell you one thing, there's something called as negative energy that definitely plays a role. Like eating food in public was not a normal thing back in the days when Ramayana and Mahabharata was happening. Dinner was a very private and an intimate thing. Calling someone for dinner at home used to be considered as a big thing. In current era, we've made it casual that people can go outside and have food because of the culture that we have brought up in and the amount of flourishment of restaurants that has taken place over the period of years. Yeah, we'll feel like going to Opa or Bla or Bastion for a matter of fact. Did I say something wrong? I think these are the common ones, right? Superstition, according to Bhagwatam, qualifies till a certain extent. They're not considered as superstition, they're considered as ill omens. There are certain signs and symbols which make you understand things that they are not going in the right direction. Now, you may consider it, not consider it, that depends on your intellect. Shastra is prescribing it. Why do we do kajal to a kid? It looks cute. Not really. The full white face and thappa. Why still we do it? Anjan. Why do you do anjan in your eyes? Is it only in the process of shringar? I understand shringar is incomplete without an anjan. But anjan also qualifies that my eyes don't become negative and starts being jealous of someone. શું ગાઓ છો આપ લોકો? યમુના જળમાં કેસર બોડી શાન કરાવું શામળા. What do you sing ahead of that? અંગો લૂછી આખું વસ્ત્રુ પીડું પીતાંબર ભાલમાં નજર લાગે શ્યામ સુંદરને ટપકા કરી દઉં ગાલમાં. નજર ન લાગે મારા શ્યામ સુંદરને ટપકા કરી દઉં ગાલમાં. That's what you're singing over there. The practical implication of it, women applying anjan, simple. And can men also apply anjan? Of course. This is one thing which is applicable for both. કેમ કાલે કોઈ માણસ કોઈ મેન મેકઅપ કરીને આવશો તો પ્રોબ્લેમ થઈ જશે તમને? ખાલી સ્ત્રીનો અધિકાર છે તૈયાર થવો. સ્ત્રીનો વધારે અધિકાર છે, એમાં માના ના નથી. From a Lokachar perspective, this is something that you need to know. That negative energies do exist. And it's our duty and our responsibility to safeguard ourselves amongst that. In the meanwhile, Arjun is missing Krushna. And Arjun is remembering the day when he could succeed in piercing the eye of the fish. And while that was happening, he realized that there were 3 actions that were done by Lord that day. One, he got a beautiful wife called Draupadi. Second, he was the one stabilizing his mind while shooting the arrow. And third, he also ensured that the other kings don't outperform him at the same time. There are so many charismatic human beings and people with such a strong aura. But then one person enters and everyone else feels like it's done. It's like that one star outsmarting all the other stars in the world. Or is that one moon dominating across all the other stars in the world? Well, that's how it functions. Here's what Arjun is being grateful for, that, it's because of Krishna that I could do such things. It's because of Krishna that I got Gita in the middle of the warfare. That's why it says Gitam Bhagavata Jnanam. And now Pandavas decide that, Kali Yuga is about to enter. Yudhishthir decides that it's time for Parikshit to become the king. The king is voluntarily stepping down. Please make a note of this. For all those people who believe in power and who don't believe in delegation, King Yudhishthir voluntarily retires and makes Parikshit the king of the Bharat Desh, of the country. Voluntarily. Power is not in holding it, power is in delegation. Yudhishthir ensures that Parikshit gets it. And then the Saptarishi concept flows into the picture. So now it's Pandavas along with Draupadi ji. And they ensure that they get moksha. Bhagwan is the one who ensures that they get moksha. And now Parikshit is the one who ensures that he's got the kingdom. He's destroyed certain more enemies. He becomes Digvijay. And he overhears a conversation between Dharma and the Bhumi. So Dharma is talking about that, I have 4 limbs, but 3 of them seems to be annihilated. And that's why it's creating a problem. So, good question. What is Dharma? Let me ask you this question. What is Dharma? What time to puchyo nota na? Is Dharma religion? Is Dharma religion? Hindu Dharma, Hindu religion. It's an eternal divine order. Religion or Dharma? Dharma, okay. Others, what do you think? What is Dharma? Way of life, fantastic. I like that thought. Character, okay, fair. Values. Actions. Your dedication to the religion. That means Dharma and religion are separate. Okay. You're partially right. And let me explain you how. Let me explain you how. Fair. Let's deal with religion first. Religion comes from the word called religare. And religare refers to unite. And to unite in Sanskrit is called yoga. Hence, religion is not the right translation for the word of Dharma. Religion refers to reunite. And to reunite refers to yoga. So what does Dharma mean? The way you can wear a watch, the way you can wear your clothes. Dharma is something you can adorn on yourself. It's abstract. You cannot see it and touch it, but you can feel it. You can understand it. Like, for example, if there's a 5-year-old and I start lashing him left, right, and center, you'll feel I'm doing wrong. You'll feel like I'm lashing on a kid who doesn't deserve such a treatment. You can feel it. You can observe it. Now I'll give you a simple scenario. Tell me one thing. You're walking on the road and you see a monument and someone is asking you about that monument. Should you give the right answer for that monument? So let's just say if I'm in Fort and someone asks me where is Bombay Stock Exchange. Should I give the right direction? Yes or no? Why? To help that person. And I'm supposed to say the truth. Second thing. But on the other side, there's a butcher coming by and wants to kill a cow. And I know where the cow has gone. Should I give the right direction to the butcher? Why? So I should sacrifice my saying the truth over there. Exactly. Context. Context. Saying the truth is dharma. Safeguarding his cow is also a dharma. What to do at that given moment is the context of dharma. Now, how can you develop this context when you hear Mahapurush, when you hear Kathakars, when you hear Acharya, when you read your scriptures, when you have internal discussions in house? You just need not question what came first, the hen or the chicken. Your ethics become a part of dharma. Your morals become a part of dharma. Your philosophy becomes a part of dharma. Your belief becomes a part of dharma. Your practices become a part of dharma. And if you ask me from a modern monk's perspective, ritual plus spiritual is equal to dharma. There's no ritual in the world which has no spirit behind it, and there's no spirituality in the world without a ritual involved in it. Now you take meditation. If you feel meditation is spirituality, let me tell you one thing, it's actually a ritual. You're having a routine. A spiritual routine requires a practice, and practice is called a ritual at the end of the day. And for people who think spirituality is something which is only for the mind, let me ask you this one straightforward question. I buy products worth 1,000 from you and I tell you from my mind that I've paid you 1,000 bucks. I spiritually paid you. Is it okay or not? But I paid you. I'm telling you I gave you 1,000 bucks, 500 rupee, 2 notes. I paid you via UPI. Check your bank balance. Spiritually, I'm telling you I've paid you. The ritual. હું તને પ્રેમ કરું છું પણ તને પ્રેમ જ ન કરું. What's the benefit of it? It's a two-way street, right? It's not just the words that talk, it's also the action, as she mentioned rightly. It's also the action that matters the most. So dharma is something that you can adorn. And this dharma is crippled right now. Because this dharma is actually on 4 stands. If you can see this presentation over here, there are some 3 legs that have been invisible, and there's only 1 leg because of which the dharma is standing right now. See what happens in Puranas, let me tell you one thing. The way you have Aesop fables, you might see sun and a moon having a conversation. You might see 2 frogs having conversation. You might see 2 fish having conversation. In Vedas, there are straightforward statements. In Puranas, those straightforward statements have been characterized. That's why you're seeing a bull and a cow having a conversation. The bull is represented as dharma and the cow is represented as earth. This same cow will come again in the 10th canto, in the Dashma Skand, where Bhumi is requesting, "Oh Lord, please come down. I am in a terrible spot. Please take care of me." So if you read Kalidas as well, Kalidas is one of the greatest authors in Sanskrit of all time, right? Even Kalidas, when he is embarking thoughts of love and affection, he has communicated so beautifully. He's making a cloud talk, a megh. A cloud is having conversation. The cloud is the source of expression. And Sanskrit as a language works on simile. Simile, which is the figure of speech, it literally works on simile. So you will see Dharma expressing the concerns and Bhumi trying to understand these concerns. And these are the 4 pillars that play a role. Tapa, Shaucha, Daya and Satya. What is Tapa? Not the only tapa that the Rakshasas did back in the days to safeguard themselves. Shaucha refers to cleanliness and purity at the same time. People got astounded when they were given sanitizers to wash hands. Because we take care of cleanliness and purity at the same time. It's just clean to have clean hands, but it's also psychologically and spiritually clean to wash your hands after feeding someone, even if you're not physically feeding them. There's an act that has taken place, which has a spiritual backing behind it. That's the reason you're washing your hands. So for all those people who say that, you know what, I ate with spoon, I don't need to eat, I don't need to clean my hands, I'm really sorry. They look as clean as they could be, but spiritually you've eaten. You have to wash your hands, as simple as that. And for people who have a habit of eating with two hands, this is what they used to do when we were children. Eat now. They used to ensure that our hand is on the back side so that we don't eat with our left hand. If you're lefty, then put your right hand backside. As simple as that. Daya and Satya, we have spoken enough about Satya. Kalyug is trying to enter. Now Kalyug enters and Kalyug is looking for places to be and has a conversation with Parikshit. Parikshit decides and tells, okay, fine, you can be at places. What is Kalyug? Good question. You know what, you'll have to make your katha for 14 days. Not 7 days. I'm still on Canto 1, I still have 30 minutes to go and I have to reach to Canto 3 today. You don't want your friends to be lost anywhere. Fair. What's Kali? Okay, there are 4 yugas. One is Satya or Kruta. Second one is Treta. Third is Dwapar. And fourth is Kali. In the first stage of life, the human lifestyle goes on till 1 lakh years. Estimated. Humans can stay as long as that much. They're eating generally from the vessels which are made out of silver and gold. The lifestyle is very minimalistic. Despite eating from such fancy utensils. There is peace, dharma is being implemented, no one is greedy, everything is so fine and nice. It's just very melodious to be in such an era. But time plays its own role. Yeah, the way you might have studied during, there was a bronze age and there was an ice age and there was a iron age and now we're in the plastic age and I don't know after that there'll be a chat GPT age and whatnot, following by. But time plays its own circle. So the human life reduces over the period of time. Along with the human life reducing, the quality of the life also reduces. The swabhavs of the people keep on changing. Like back in the days when Dwapar Yuga was there, or Satya Yuga, if you compare Satya Yuga and Dwapar Yuga, you won't find cheating to be a normal phenomena during the Satya Yuga. But you will find cheating to be a very common thing during the Dwapar Yuga. It worsens even in the Treta Yuga. So negative element keeps on enhancing by the time going by. And it's inversely proportional to time. So Satya Yuga is of 17 lakh years. Good age. Kali Yuga is of 4,32,000 years. Bad age. And this Kali Yuga we have just entered 5,000 years till now. In 5,000 years we are seeing people being raped, people being threatened, people being smoked up, people being beaten up, people dying, diseases, famines, COVID. And I'm sure the last thing that is supposed to happen is robots eating up humans. With how the robotics industry is going fast, I think that's way possible. If clones can be made in 5 crore rupees, then I'm sure it's a matter of 100 years where robots will start eating humans as well. Now what happens in Kali Yuga? Kali Yuga is the phase of decline. Since it's a cycle at the end of the day, good. See, in Gita it has been prescribed by God, good days and bad days are just like winters and summers. They're cyclical in nature. So right now we are staying in the best time of a Kali Yuga. Our future generations could be in the worst time of the Kali Yuga. And for people who have lived decades, you might have seen some 6 or 7 decades, you've seen the transition very well. You've seen your own ancestors and your own descendants at the same time. Sometimes you might be wondering, should I be laughing or should I be crying? હું રડું કે હસું મને સમજાતું નથી. And Kali Yuga precisely lives in the places where there is intoxication. Anything that takes you high, anything that makes you high, that's where Kali Yuga is. Second, it's there in the greedy spaces. So if you're illegally extorting money of someone or gold of someone to be precise. That's where Kali Yuga is. Third space, if you are gambling somewhere. Fourth space, women with no character. These places are these are the segments where Kali Yuga actually resides. And it just keeps on worsening. Now, Parikshit had compassion. That's the reason why he got Kali Yuga. He gave Kali Yuga as an entry. He limited places. He restricted Kali Yuga to be at places. But it's Kali Yuga at the end of the day. It's supposed to manifold and multiply. Now, people might propound irreligious principles and practices because of which people will land up doing things that they're not supposed to. Till that extent, it is said that if you have to feed your own self, you will land up doing things that you're not supposed to. Eventually, the time came, since Parikshit was someone who was known for taking tests. Parikshit was one fine day going for a hunt. He becomes thirsty. He finds a Rishi in the ashram. He finds Rishi in the ashram and he's testing him. He puts up a snake on his head. That snake eventually falls down. And the Rishi's son realizes that Parikshit has insulted my father. Let me give him a curse. Curse do exist, by the way. Back in the days, curses were immediate. Now, if you cuss about something, with the power of manifestation, it takes about a year to that curse to manifest itself. So let's just say if by mistake as well you say something negative about someone, according to a conversation between Parashar Muni and all the Rishis, in Kali Yuga, if you say something negative, it takes about a year for that negative thing to happen. So for all those people who believe in the power of manifestation, if you are cursing someone, just think twice before doing that. There's a chance that your word might turn out to be true. If the intensity is higher, you might emit negative energies for someone else. In this scenario, Parikshit was cursed by a Brahmin boy, saying that on the 7th day, there'll be a takshak, there'll be a snake which will be coming and biting Parikshit, and eventually Parikshit will die. And Parikshit decides, you know what, I just have 7 days in my life. He renunciates food, he renunciates his own kingdom, he goes to the riverbed of Gangaji, and eventually Shri Shukdevji happens to come over there. Shri Shukdevji is someone whom I've already announced before. He comes there, acknowledges in what scenario Parikshit is, and Parikshit starts asking a lot of questions. There's one thing in Bhagwatam that you can learn is one, how to live. But it's even glorious to know how to die. There was this Greek soldier called Achilles. Achilles knew how he wanted to die. He wanted to be glorious, and that's how he defined his death. There's a famous Kabira saying, na, तूने कैसी दुनिया बनाई जब हम आए हम रोए जग हंसे कबीरा तू ऐसी करनी कर जब हम जाए हम हंसे जग रोए. So you define your path of liberation. How do you define your path of liberation? You read Bhagwatam for that. In the 19th subchapter of the first canto, entire conversation is about death management. And while Parikshit is asking a lot of questions, and we transit from the chapter 1 to the chapter 2, which is called the Sadhan Leela, over here we understand that Parikshit is not just asking questions for himself. Bijoskan, Pello Adhyay, Pello Shlok, Variya Neshate Prashnaha. You're talking about, Jaydev uncle was talking to me about how Bhagavad is contextual for us in the current era. You name any problem that you have in life. You have money problems, Bhagavad is a solution for that. You have relationship problem, Bhagavad is a solution for that. You have a problem that your children are not listening to you, Bhagavad is a solution for that. You have a problem that your elders are not listening to you, Bhagavad is a solution for that. You have a problem that your partner is not listening to you, Bhagavad is a solution for that. You want to know how to manage your money, Bhagavad is a solution for that as well. You want to know how to live a life, Bhagavad is a solution for that as well. You name your problem, and let me tell you if Bhagavad is a solution for that or not. And see, the beauty about acknowledging is, this is not something that I've learned by myself. When you are asking a question, Shukdev Ji Maharaj is someone who's acknowledging the question of Parikshit. Who am I not to acknowledge your question? Because your question is not just your question is in the benefit of the others. And that's the same acknowledgement that Shukdev Ji Maharaj is giving to Parikshit as well. Ke taro je prashna che, lokahitam nrupaha. It's for the benefits of others. Times and places in Bhagavatam you will realize that you want to learn how to evolve in life, not just physically but mentally as well. You need Bhagavatam for yourself. What happens with someone who doesn't have this essence of knowing that inner self? There's a difference between living and existing. You're living through emotional touch, your senses are working, those 5 things are doing the justice for you. But that strike of inquisitiveness is what makes the difference. And eventually, a lot of life lessons have been communicated. How do you talk? Your communication skills is also something that has been communicated in the Canto 2. But I won't be touching on these topics. I'll be telling you about what does the divine form of the Lord do. The same Purushottam has been extolled in Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, wherein he is self-claiming that he is this, Vedoma Samvechu, Ama Rudra Chu, Ama Aditya Chu, Ama Rutuma Chu. He's self-claiming all those things over there itself. Over here in Bhagavatam, Shukdev Ji Maharaj is making us understand how the lotus feet of Lord and the various parts of the lotus feet of Lord are the 7 hell. If you see the word Padamulam, the root of the feet, the bottommost part is where your patal is. There are 7 types of hell, by the way. Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Patal, etc. That's how they've been bifurcated as. Kaya sharir mathi kaya devtani utpatti thai છે? Kaya sharirna ang mathi? When Brahmins recite the Purusha Sukta, they say Brahmanosya mukham asit. They also say, claim that Agni is something that has come out of the fire has come out of the Lord's mouth. So they also help you note where these devtas have come from. Moreover, there are 2 forms of Lord that we can remember. One is the micro form and the macro format of it. The micro format of it is Sukshma, is small in nature. The macro format of it is huge, is Virat in nature. Right? The Lord also resides. If we see in Uttara's Garbha, when he went inside, he was not in a macro format over there. He has to go in a micro format over there. So Lord can change his shape and size. This is something that we can understand from Shrimad Bhagwatam. The third one helps you understand more about why praying to deities and various gods and goddesses is essential. What do you get when you pray a certain segment of God? You want knowledge, you pray to Saraswati. You want health, you pray to Dhanvantari. You want a longer segment of life, you pray to the Surya Dev. That's what you get to know more about. Moving on, Shukdev Ji Maharaj eventually prays to the Divine Lord in multiple formats, which is called Shukdev Ji Maharaj's Mangalacharan. He commences this discourse. He talks about how various tapasvis, people who have wealth, people who have austerities, how are they praying to the Lord? Tapasvino, Danapara, Yashasvino, Manasvino, the 17th verse that I'm talking about. What can you do of that Lord? You can do his kirtan, you can remember him, you can do his smaran. Yadikshanam, you can observe him, you can look at him. Yadvandanam, you can pay your obscenes to him. Yat Shravanam, you can listen about him. These are the various acts how you can, you can unite with Lord, you can unite with Lord's nature, you can unite with Lord's various forms and acts. To which, at multiple places in Bhagavatam, the creation of the cosmos had been described, but this has been also prescribed in Canto 2 and Canto 3 at the same time. Brahmaji is someone who extols the God, sings the various glories of the Lord, tells Narad what kind of experiences that he has had, what kind of various acts Lord has done in the sportful descents of the 7th subchapter of the 2nd canto. Why am I not detailing these out? Because these are heavy in philosophy. These are highly philosophical topics. That's the reason I'm not touching upon them right now. This is one more space where Parikshit keeps on asking a lot of questions, and Shukdev ji has understood the mood and the mindset that Parikshit has carried because he has a lot of questions. He starts answering these questions. Back in the time, I had mentioned about one mantra, the Gayatri mantra of Bhagwan. How that was the one which was being conferred upon to Ved Vyas ji, and Ved Vyas ji came up with the entire Bhagwatam. Brahma ji also had studied a similar format of Bhagavad. There is a Bhagavad called Chatushloki Bhagavad. Chatu refers to 4. Shloki refers to the verse. Bhagavad refers to the Bhagavad itself. This Bhagavatam was actually given by Lord to Brahmaji. It actually doesn't contain 4 verses, it contains 7 verses in it. 7 verses have been put in 4 quadrants, hence it is called a Chatushloki Bhagavad. This Bhagavatam was given by the Lord to Brahmaji, and eventually this Jnanam Paramaguhyam me yad Vijnana Samanvitam. There's one verse which says Aham eva sameva agre. When there was nothing, I existed. When there is everything, I'm still here. When there'll be nothing, I'll still exist. It's in the space of generation, operation, or destruction. There's one thing that is constant, and that is me. That's what Lord is telling Brahma. And this divine knowledge was transferred to Brahmaji in the form of Chatushloki Bhagavad. If you want to understand Mahaprabhuji's philosophy, you need to understand these chapters. And then comes the last part of the of Canto 2, which talks about the 10 different formats of Leela, the 10 divine acts or activities that have been done by the Lord, which are propounded as Atra Sargo Visargascha. Now I'll tell you the beauty behind this verse. If you read the word Sarga, Visarga, Sthana, Poshan, and all of these are the name of the chapters which are going to come henceforth. Every chapter has a name. And since chapters have been named, there's a purpose behind all of these chapters. Like the chapter that we are going to enter right now is called Creation. It's called Sarga Leela. Sarga refers to creation. Now, this is the most important chapter from a listener's perspective because this might excite all of you. Why? Because it has so many thoughts and principles about functionality of life, your day-to-day routine, why certain things exist in a certain way, how a baby is born, what is the timeline really like, and as much as we can cover today, we'll cover it today. The ones that we can't today, we'll cover it in the next session, that's tomorrow. See, I had planned certain things to do, but at the end of the day, I am not doing the katha. The Lord is making me do the katha. If He feels this is something that you need to know, that's why it is being served to you. How much ever I try to not do certain things, it might not just happen. I'll be frankly telling you something. I had planned something else altogether. I had planned my entire day to do most amount of katha on section 3. And my major time went in section 1. There are 2 sides to it. A, there is an adhikar bhed. That means Lord wants you to listen to that. Second, the Lord wants me to recite that. मुझे मेरी जितनी चलानी है, चलनी तो ऊपर वाले की ही है. See what happens when 2 bhakta meet. When 2 industrialists will meet. What will they talk about? They'll talk about industry progression, how the recession is being beaten by them, or how they are beating the recession at the same time. Have they done any disruption in the recent times that can change the walk of the entire industry? Like how Jio got launched and the entire telecom industry was upside down, and now there are only 3 players. Vodafone Idea got merged. There's Airtel and there's Jio. When 2 industrialists will meet, they'll talk about prosperity. When 2 politicians will meet, they'll talk about national policies. Similarly, when 2 bhakta will meet, what are they supposed to talk about? Kem cho, kem nahi? Simple. Bhagwan needs baat karshan. And let me tell you what are the various types of bhakta as well. Vidur, on one side, is someone who has knowledge, but is asking questions about everyone in and around the family of Bhagwan Shri Krishna. Vidur happens to go away from his house. Why? Because Kauravas didn't do certain things right. See, Dhritarashtra made certain errors. First of all, insult of Draupadi. Not something should have been done. Second, inviting people for gambling. Should not have happened. Third, killing people at the Laksha Gruha. The brothers that were killed at Laksha Gruha, not something that should have been done. Because of these actions that took place, Vidur was like, I am not staying here anymore. You have disrespected my Lord. That's the 4th thing you could ever commit. I am not going to stay in this kingdom altogether. And remember one thing, when an elderly person goes from your house, they also take away all the blessings that they have. All the aura that they have. And it was said that when Vidur goes away from the house, कौरवों का जितना पुण्य था वो उनके साथ चला गया. So you might have realized when someone from your house passes away, that house becomes very barren. You feel there's such a big void and you don't know how to fill it. And since you don't know how to fill that void, the only thing that can substitute that void is Lord's name. Any actions or activities which are being done for remembering them, and the positive environment which is created through Lord's name. As simple as that. Now, Vidurji is someone who has been giving an ample amount of knowledge and information to Dhritarashtra. Eventually, is not being treated rightly. And decides, you know what, it's my time to go away from the house. He goes away from the house. He goes to the various holy places. And apparently happens to meet Uddhav. Now, who's Uddhav? Uddhav is also Bhagwan Shri Krishna's friend. And by the way, just like Arjun, Uddhav is also someone who's got knowledge from Bhagwan Shri Krishna. He's a confidant. He's a confidant. He's such kind of a personality. Now, when Vidur and Uddhavji are meeting, Vidurji is asking questions. How is Balram? How is Krishna? How is Yudhishthir? How is Vasudev? How is Devaki? And all the entire periphery of how is Kunti and everyone else. And Uddhavji is like, you know what, I'm not going to answer these questions. This is like Masi ji asking, Tara ghare bada kem che, tu kem che, mummy kem che, papa kem che, majama che, nathi, badane thik che, nathi, jamyu, nahi jamyu. Uddhavji is like, I'm not answering these line of questions. So Uddhavji starts answering these questions. And in 2 adhyay, that's sub-chapter 2 and sub-chapter 3, Uddhavji will give you a refresher's course on what Leelas Bhagwan has done in Canto 10. So sometimes you might wonder, Are Bhagwan nu aji janma nathi thyo, Bhagwan hasn't even been born. Why is everyone just talking about Bhagwan, Bhagwan, Bhagwan and Bhagwan? See, that's what I told you. You bring any god or goddesses in this. The theme is going to be one, and that's Krishna. The theme is never going to change. So fine, Vidurji got answers from Uddhavji. Uddhavji understood that my answers are not going to be straightforward. So Uddhavji starts with all the leelas that Bhagwan Shri Krishna has done in his childhood during the days of Gokul and Vrindavan, etc. And eventually moves over to all the leelas that he has done in Mathura and the leelas that he has done in Dwarka. Uddhavji says, you know what, this is the ample amount of information you can get from me. If you want for further information, you can meet someone called as Maitreya. Maitreya Muni. So it's just like you call a helpline and they are done helping you and they are like, I'll divert your call to someone else. See, certain segment of people you can only be with a certain period of time, certain stipulated amount of time. You have to respect that time and face. Uddhav ji has a bigger purpose to achieve because he is supposed to go to Bhadrashram. So if someone is taking your leave, it's not because they don't love you. It's because they have something else to achieve in life. So yeah, now Vidurji has a bunch of questions and he goes and meets Maitreya. Maitreya ji is trying to answer all the questions that Vidur has. One of the major concerns that Vidur has is how is this world created? If I have to ask you this question, how is this world created, what will your answer be? I still have 4 minutes, so don't worry. God has created the world. But then your 10-year-old Tenu will ask you, na, how did God create the world? What do you answer then? Then Aditya Shastri ne bola, oh, saras. Oh God. Tough is life is tough. Okay, fair. But that still doesn't answer my question. Tell me. भगवान ने दुनिया केवल तो बनाई. Thank you. Thank you. We'll lead to that Big Bang Theory concept. So the cosmic body that refers to the world being created, I'll talk about caste system a little later space. Let's just talk about, let me tell you about what happens in these Adhyayas. In Adhyay 5, Vidur is talking about his previous birth. In 6, the concept of creation has been initiated. Caste system is something that we can discuss tomorrow, hence I'm not touching on it right now. Vidur has certain segment of questions in context with the creation process. How Brahma has created his world. Brahma's manifestation is also being propounded over here. This also defines the various parampara of Bhagavad Ji. I am saying these things right now, not for you, but because I have taken a vow to never skip an Adhyay. In a katha, I'm not supposed to skip an Adhyay. Hence, I'm giving justice to these statements by one statements as well. So please bear with me for time being. I'm leading you guys to something called as this. We'll end our session with the Big Bang Theory. But this is how the Lord created the world. The Lord was residing on the Sheshnag. Apparently from the navel comes the Brahma. The Brahma couldn't see anything. And hence from that Brahma who had one face gets 4 more. So now he has one face for each direction. And he couldn't see anything. And this very same Brahma keeps on extolling the God. What is Brahma saying? I have done penance, I've done meditation, I've done austerities for so many thousands of years, and after that I've got a chance to know you. And some people just can't know you. They don't have the bhagya only to know you. You are the extreme, you are the ultimate, you are the supreme, you are the creative energy of the matter. You are the one who exhibits everything. And since you are the one who exhibits everything, via Brahma, the 10-fold creation process has taken place. Now what is this 10-fold creation process? And this is where we end our chapter today. It's called the Big Bang Theory. What does the Big Bang Theory propound? There were 2 particles that collided against each other, and because of that collision, there was a humongous blast of energy that took place, which gradually created elements, matter, planetary systems, etc. 2 verses, tomorrow in the 3:30 slot, we'll try to understand how, according to Vaisheshik philosophy, the universe was created. And how Westerners were dependent on our theory to understand the process of elements and the process of creation. With this, we'll end today's session on chapter 3, subchapter 10. If you might have understood something today, it's good for you. If you haven't understood something today, it's bad for me. But yeah, these topics are heavy. Okay? So they're bound to go a little bouncer on your head. So feel normal, it's okay. Not every ball is a 6 ball. You have to duck some balls, you have to play a yorker sometimes, you have to play a bouncer sometimes, you have to play an uppercut sometimes. Not all balls are for 6. But the balls of 6 will come on the on the 4th day. When you start understanding more about Vamanji, more about Ram, more about Krishna. Yeah, those are the avatars which will give you more clarity about. So it's fine if you're going not on the same page with me. You can revisit all these videos thanks to Dharmesh Bhai. Your live is there. You can check out Pushtiras' YouTube channel before coming to the session so that you have a revision of what is being told today. And with that, we'll recite the Lord's name. We'll do a Jai Jaikar and mark the end of the day. Shri Govardhan Nath Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Dharan Ki Jai, Shyam Sundar Shri Amne Maharani Ji Ki Jai, Shri Vallabhadhish Ki Jai, Shri Gosai Ji Paramadayal Ki Jai.